Hi, folks. Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
What's up, fam? Welcome back. Welcome to Lazy Booking. Jesus Christ. I'm so thrown off, guys. I'm thrown off.
Well, Lazy Booking was on Tuesday last week.
I know. I'm also.
I don't blame you.
Welcome back to Birds of a Feather, live from the Real Talk Studios. First half of the show brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, our certified public accountant. Make them yours. GibsonMayer.com. Our Scanzano Sports poll question of the week. What are you most concerned about with this Eagles team right now? Wentz being ready for week 1, Foles preseason struggles, our linebacker depth, our defensive tackle depth. If there's any other specific concerns you'd like to address, this is where we do it, fam. We do it live on A2D with the fam. Charles, Chrome, over here on the ones and twos, filling in for our man who's over in other countries. We have Senor Vespi over here. Frank.
Hola, señor.
What's going on,
Hola,
Vespi?
Senor. Frank the Tank.
Buenos noches, everyone.
Buenos.
Yes. Over here on the ones and twos, ready to kill for us tonight, guys. So, Charles.
What's going on,
What's
man?
up, buddy?
What's up?
Coming
Football's
up-
almost here.
Football's almost
It's
here.
almost here.
And how excited you are? It was
9 more days. It's going to be
9
exciting.
more days.
Oh, my gosh.
So let me ask before we get into it, because we're going to get into concerns. With the preseason struggles that we've seen, are you any more or any less excited for the season? That's a question that I definitely want to address. Also with the fam, listen, guys, we're live on YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, and Instagram.
Insta.
So this is our first round on Instagram. Excited to be there.
I don't have an Instagram, by the way.
I know. You're like the weirdest person
I'm
ever
like
that you don't have an Instagram.
I'm like one of the rare people in the world that doesn't have an
Everybody
Instagram.
has an Instagram but Charles, because
But
he's a weird man. So
Except for me.
sun's out, guns out, though, buddy.
It's hot.
It's
It's hot, guys, so I have to wear a tank. I sweat.
Break-
I'm sweating right now. Like, I entered the studio, I'm already sweating.
Make sure you have that. You do have the Facebook up, too, because, I can't read certain
Oh,
comments.
yeah, because of the emojis.
There's already one I'm not going to be able to read from Jamie Lasher.
Oh, gosh.
Real quick, I'm just going to dive in because we got a couple here. Brinkman
Yeah.
waving and saying hello. Nate Trammell also saying hello. What's up, fellas? Brinkman says, don't want to sound like a homer, but I'm not worried at all. I'm with you. We're definitely going to get into that, Brinkman. I'm not hitting the panic mode yet. Kyle Meager says linebacker depth, honestly. I think definite reason to be concerned with kind of how things have unfolded. John Malmus, my biggest concern is left tackle, because if not JP, whoever's our quarterback one is going to get killed. Ishmael Rodriguez says, hopefully Darby can show improvement this season. No deflections. He needs to catch the ball.
What? Hopefully. Wait, hold on. Darby's already shown improvement. If there's one guy in our secondary,
I think he's talking during the overall in the regular season.
I hope so. I mean, I get it, but I mean, oh my gosh, like if one of the guys, if you're gonna count a few guys that have stood out the most, this preseason so much.
Yeah, I would agree that
it's Darby.
He's definitely showed up in the preseason, and in training camp. So for sure, but. Are you we'll answer the question first. What's your biggest concern? I think for me, I think this is a different team when Carson Wentz is behind center. And I know we kind of addressed it last week with Foles' concerns. I'm not overly concerned with Foles.
Yeah.
A, he's a slow starter. B, he's our backup quarterback. I think it's fair to say that we know we got 10 of the best quarters out of Nick Foles that we could have ever asked for last year.
Ever.
And I'm not saying that I don't think he's still a guy who is a very capable starter in this league, because I absolutely believe that he could be on the lower end.
Yeah.
Or if there's an injury and a team is desperate and needs to have somebody step in, I absolutely believe that Foles could be that guy. That being said, this is Carson Wentz's team. I think it's been all but confirmed at this point, and I'm a little bit concerned of what we may see opening day, just because we're right into the fire with Atlanta. And I'm hoping that Carson's going to be good to go. It's looking tough now because the window is kind of closing as far as being able to do contact drills and all that different stuff. But
Totally
you know, me and Frank kind of were powwowing on this before we went on the air. You know, wouldn't be a shock if maybe it's a little bit of a smokescreen, right?
Yep.
I think we talked about that.
I mean, the people on the internet, they call Doug Peterson Big Balls Doug for a reason. So
yeah, I mean, you know, it's something where, you know, they don't want to play him in the preseason and they don't want people to question that decision. So maybe just ride him out, continue to say he's not good to go for contact until Friday. We said Friday's kind of the decision day. And it wouldn't shock me if they say, all right, he's good to go, you know? And you've now bypassed preseason to the point where, okay, now we're ready to go and fire him. And if not, you know, if he misses a week or maybe 2 weeks,
right,
it is what it is. But I'm a little bit concerned because I feel like we need to have Carson week 1.
Absolutely.
No, I hear you. For the question purpose, it's, for me, it's something that I've been harking on for now the past couple of months. It's defensive tackle depth, interior defensive lineman depth. Mm-hmm. And when I say that, I don't mean like I'm panicking, or it doesn't mean like, oh, like this is a serious concern. I'm saying, you know, if going into the season, every team has flaws. So we're trying to pick out which ones, you know, are we like, okay, like this could be an area of weakness we need to improve on as the season goes on. Overall, because I know after this third preseason game against the Browns where we got shut out 5-0, there are a lot of fans out there already panicking and being like, oh, we're in trouble. On Friday, I go into work, and in my work, you know, we were allowed to, for the whole month of August, they let us wear different sports jerseys every Friday. Kind of like a dress down day for August.
Cool.
And, you know, we were wearing our Eagles stuff, Eagles jerseys, and like all morning, every single customer comes in and goes, man, the Eagles look bad. I'm worried.
Getting a lot of that.
Man, and the Eagles look bad. And I'm just sitting at my desk, and I'm just like, it's preseason.
Well, that's what I said, and my response is, it's preseason.
It's preseason.
Like, I'm not saying that
anything.
there's no stock in preseason, because there definitely is. But we saw it last year. We saw guys like Garrett Blunt, who really looked like he wasn't going to make this team coming out of training camp. And as soon as
How
week
foolish
one,
does that sound now?
as soon as week 1 hit, you know, I mean, he was ready to go. And I think, as we talked about, like, the major concern, most of what people are concerned about, from what I've seen, is Nick Foles. If we have to start the season with Nick Foles, am I a little less confident that we can step up with Atlanta week 1? And of course I am. I have my concerns with that matchup. But that being said, I mean, by no means am I ready to throw a flag in or throw in the towel on anything. I just think that we're going to need to see Nick make a little bit of a stride this week.
Yep.
I'll be a little concerned if he looks like garbage this week.
But also
I don't think he's playing, though.
But also
Is he
we
not
don't.
playing
He's
now?
not
He's
playing.
gonna play.
I thought he was
I
going
don't
to
think he's
play.
playing.
I thought he was playing a little bit the first quarter. My
Um,
bad.
But I mean, all preseason, I mean, Nick didn't have most of his weapons to play with.
No, that's true.
I mean,
Yeah.
Aguilar didn't play much. Mac Hollins was absent. Jason
Alshon.
Peters, Alshon. So
Sproles,
basically,
Ajayi.
basically
Ajayi didn't play last game.
almost all the
Ajayi didn't play that
starters
much either.
have basically sat out or played very few snaps. So
Got a lot of Matt Jones.
who?
Matt
Jones.
Who?
God, I hope that's it. I hope that's
Yeah.
all we hear of Matt Jones.
That's
ever.
probably it.
But
And
anyway,
we could just end it at strictly who.
yeah, who? Yeah. But again, not panicking. But to answer the poll question again, defensive tackle depth, because with Timmy Jernigan out, it's like who's going to step up and be that second defensive tackle next to Fletcher Cox? Because that was huge. I mean, Timmy Jernigan early in the year before he got hurt, he was tearing it up, and that was a big
He was
reason
looking great last year.
why Cox, was able to get free on the D line. And now we have what? We have Nada, we have the new guy Hector, who's stepped up out of nowhere and has exceeded expectations. Like no one saw that coming.
Sure.
But at the same time, he's still an unproven guy. Elijah Qualls has been a disappointment overall.
I mean, that's what you're going to get out of a seventh
Yeah,
rounder.
Destiny Vio
or
has been
sixth rounder, whatever
Destiny
he was.
Vio has been solid.
Yeah.
Nothing more than that. I mean, like you don't have someone now like a Timmy Jernigan, and yeah, you can move Michael Bennett inside, and that's perfectly fine. But at the same time, you move him inside, now you got to replace someone on the outside. So you have like a ripple effect, a domino effect coming into place where you're going to move Michael Bennett inside. Now you need someone else like a Derek Barnett to step up. And now he's going to play a pivotal role on the edge along with Chris Long, because now the whole rotation gets affected. And so that interior defensive lineman depth is something to me hasn't been mentioned enough. Like you have to keep in mind, like everyone wants to talk about linebacker. You know, they've been worried about our linebacker depth because of Hicks getting injured, and I understand, especially since we just released Corey Nelson last week. Like, you know, which is kind of surprising.
That was going to be my answer for the poll with linebacker depth.
Exactly, like he's, you know, releasing him was kind of like a surprise. So the depth thing for linebacker does come up again.
It's a concern, sure.
But
Yeah,
to me,
it's a valid concern.
to me, it's defensive tackle.
In the case if Jordan Hicks goes down, who are you going to rely on? Joe Walker, who's primarily special teams. Could Kamu Grugier-Hill step up? Nate Jerry step up?
There's a lot of question marks.
Very huge question marks. And I know people are going to I'm surprised nobody has even brought it up. Then there's probably going to be that one fan out of nowhere that's going to be like, oh, why don't we go after Khalil Mack?
Yep.
No,
we don't have the room for it.
Yeah.
We're not going after Khalil Mack.
There's no way to get Khalil Mack. Let's just address that rumor. The Eagles are not going to get Khalil Mack. As much as it will be amazing to have him,
getting Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
there is no way we will keep Khalil Mack for the year and find a way to extend his offer.
And we are not. And Khalil Mack doesn't even play middle linebacker.
Right.
Yeah, he's edge. He's an edge guy.
He's an edge guy.
And people keep throwing out Navarro Bowman. I know a lot of people are big fans of Navarro Bowman. Hey, I was a big fan of Navarro Bowman when he was in San Francisco. The guy was a stud. However, he doesn't really fit our scheme.
I don't know if he fits the scheme.
Exactly. Thank you. He doesn't fit the scheme because he at this age he is a downhill linebacker.
Well, I say I don't know if he fits the scheme.
Okay, I know he doesn't fit the scheme.
I wouldn't have an issue with them bringing him in to give it a shot.
Sure.
Sure. If the circumstances financially are right and the situation's right and you're looking for depth options, absolutely, I think it's definitely worth a shot. But that being said, to me, I agree with you. It's another question mark because we don't know if he fits their defensive scheme with Jim Schwartz.
Exactly.
And I'm taking a look at all these players that are probably still up for grabs that are free agents. But
Read them off.
Yeah, read them off.
I mean, let's see. Let me take a look. I'm trying to avoid the ones that re-signed. Navarro Bowman's still on the top of the list. Once the rest of the page loads. Thanks, Walter Football. Taking forever.
Well, that's okay. While you're loading that, I didn't get to read this one because I can't because of emojis on stupid Facebook.
Oh, God.
Which
Jamie Lasher?
Reading Jamie Lasher's
Yeah,
I accidentally bypassed
he says,
this.
just concerned about them fielding a ready team for week one. Not comfortable with what I am seeing from them attitude-wise. I think
that was a concern a couple of weeks ago. We talked about Big V last week.
Big V, yes.
And in terms of that, I agree. I mean, you know that you're going to have some guys out there who clearly are taking this as for granted as being just the preseason. But you're a guy who still has to earn your job.
Oh, yeah.
You're a guy who has you played in some big spots, but you got a Hall of Famer who's ahead of you right now. And when he's ready to finally step away from the game or move on, you're not guaranteed that spot.
Yeah,
you haven't done anything, not even close to anything, to guaranteed that spot. You're talking about you played 6 really decent quarters, above average, good quarters. That's about all you got on your resume right now.
Yeah, so he's got and he didn't play any better against the Browns. And again, last week I did say that's a cause for concern because Myles Garrett is on a tear, and you can't expect Big V to completely contain Myles Garrett, but at the same time, he still didn't look that great.
Tom Arnone says, "Yo, fam, is nothing an option? Always an option," as Chuck said on there. Our boy Ralphie D. Ralphie, he's saying, "Yo, what's up, Ralph?
King of Madden."
My boy,
Until
even though he's a
me.
Giants fan, Tom Gideon, he says, Odell. Yo, first of all, Charles called that deal. Like,
Yeah, if you didn't
on
see.
August 4th, he shared it. He did share it in the Real Talk group, which if you're not in the Real Talk group, again, get in there. It's A2D with us, with a little more of,
lot of
an
fun.
edge, little gloves off, little more fun. August 4th, I think the text was, he put out there.
Yes.
He texted his buddy and said, what do you think Odell's going to get? I think he's going to get 5 years, $95 million, $65 guaranteed.
Right on the money.
Boom. That was right on the money. So props to you, brother, for
Thank
that.
you, sir. Thank you,
And
sir.
we give the clap on that. I don't, I'm going to be that guy. I don't know that I love the deal for the Giants just because I look at Odell and all the skills are there. Everything is there for him, but I just feel like he's not a winning player. I feel like it's Odell. I almost feel like he's T.O. 2.0. Maybe not so much with the mouthpiece, but it's the antics on the field, acting like you're pissing on the field. And he's been very frustrated when the ball's been not in his hands and it's been spread around. That being said, you can't take the town away. And I think the Giants, for all intents and purposes, really probably had to give him that kind of a deal.
Yeah.
I just don't love it for them. I don't mind seeing him 2 times a year. It doesn't bother me because even when he has a big game, a lot of times when he seems to have a big game, the Giants don't play so well around him. So
Well, we've had
their
record.
number.
We've had their number even ever since he got drafted. But I mean, to me, I don't think I could ever go and say he's on that level of a T.O. Now, is he immature? Yes. He's shown immaturity. He has shown to be a little too over-emotional.
Shades of it.
He's over-emotional. He doesn't know how to contain his emotions, and he goes overboard. But at the same time, and like
He does dumber shit off the field than T.O. does.
Yes, he goes overboard with his emotions. At the same time, I'm going to be fair and I'm going to be objective, even as an Eagles fan. I think some of the criticism that he does get is a little is misconstrued for his passion for winning. Because if you ask a lot of his teammates, they've never ever complained about him not having the desire to win and not wanting to be, put team first to make sure the team goes out and wins. When he's complained, it's because he feels like he can contribute to the win, but they're not putting themselves in the best position to win.
Right.
So, in that area, I think that Odell does get a bad rap. And listen, again, he's done stupid stuff. That boat thing, I don't think was a stupid thing to do. What was it, 2 years ago when they went on the boat before the playoff game? Him and on Justin Bieber's boat. That was stupid. And
the pizza and drugs.
Stupid. The kicking net again, stupid. He banged his head against the wall or something like that. 1 year, or he was in the locker room.
No, wasn't that Martin Gramatica who did
that?
that?
No. Odell did something where he banged his head against the wall or punched the wall in the locker room in the back tunnel or something.
He might have. I don't remember.
Something like that. Again,
typical Odell.
His emotions are way out of check, and I get it. But I don't think this guy is a team. He's not a virus to a team like T.O. does.
No,
like T.O. is.
No, but he's a distraction.
Distraction. Okay,
I would
I'll
say distraction. I said I see shades of a growing T.O. that could be there. Hopefully I don't care, but if he can keep his ego in check, I think he could avoid that and go to that next level because everything is there for him. Everything.
He's so talented. Yeah.
James Wilder, no real concern from the Eagles preseason. Shrugs. Same with me.
It's so funny because overall, again, guys, the question is, what concerns do you have? Like, I'm not. The question is not. Are you concerned about the Eagles winning? No, you're not concerned. But I know for a fact that over the past month or two, people have said, "Oh, I'm concerned about this. I'm concerned about linebacker depth. I'm concerned about Wentz not being ready. I'm concerned about how Foles has looked." I know there are concerns.
It still concerns me that, and then we'll get to Frank because I wanted Frank to pull that list up. It does concern me. Oh, wait. So Tom says, I call him a flu, maybe pneumonia, but not a cancer. And Tom's a Giants fan. Thank you, Tom. That's pretty good.
That's a good.
It comes and goes, absolutely, but it can be treated. Let's hopefully it's not anything that becomes permanent.
Yeah.
For your sake.
That's a good analogy. I like that. Yeah, I like that.
It does concern me that nobody has stepped up in that fourth running back spot definitively yet, which tells me we're going to go into the season with Wendell Smallwood as your fourth back, which is, for me, the very least exciting thing that could have happened coming out of preseason. I would have liked to have seen maybe Adams step up.
Although he did run well.
He did run well. He did run well.
But you got to start asking,
I don't think there's
did he do enough?
Right. I don't know if he did enough. I thought Matt Jones was going to be a veteran guy that could come in and push these guys, and I just haven't seen it.
He's lost
that's
so there's a concern to me. I don't. It's only a fourth back, but we still have Darren Sproles coming off of a major injury, which. I think he'll be fine because the guy's a freak of nature. But that being said, you still never know. And I don't like the idea that it's gifted to somebody who, just because they've been here and have shown signs 3 years ago that there's talent there. Like, I wanted someone to step up and take over that role, because we got to remember, too, Darren Sproles is gone next year.
Yep.
So that moves you up on that depth chart. Look at Corey Clement this year.
Yeah.
He came in as a fringe guy last year who earned that third spot, and now he's moving up essentially for all intents and purposes in the number 2 back spot behind Jay Ajayi. So there's concern. I think that there's definitely concern for the depth at running back right now.
No, I totally hear you. And I had posted like a week or two ago about how I said I thought that at this point just keep 3. But that's not to say that I think that a fourth is unnecessary. That's not the point. To me, it was always about, if you're going to be a fourth running back, you got to earn that spot.
Yep.
We're not giving to you by default. And that's where it frustrates me that Wendell Smallwood might get that spot by default. Because he didn't earn it. Like, we know what he is. And I wanted to see, I actually was hoping the Eagles would pick up Sharkanjic West, who was just dropped by the Chiefs, but the Jets pounced on him. Because that's someone who was a third down back. He's familiar with the system. He would have been almost a seamless transition, and like, he's someone you could put in the fourth running back spot. He could play special teams, so I thought that would have been great, but it didn't happen. I just think that, to me, if you were to ask me, it would be Adams, because you still have uncertainty where you think you can try to develop him.
But we've talked about it. We know what Wendell Smallwood is. I mean, at this point, I just don't see him making these great strides to where I'm going to be confident that he's going to be a strong fourth this year and then a third next year. If Sproles goes away, which we, for all intents and purposes, we expect him to. Why don't you read Brian Wilson's comments?
I saw. I'm about to respond.
I can't read his first comment.
I'm at UPS sweating like a whore in church, but wanted to say, what's up, fellas? It's almost Christmas morning.
What's up,
Let's
Wilson?
get it. Also, send out a search party for Chuck's sleeves.
Hashtag
hey, man,
gun show.
If it's
James
hot,
Wilder,
the sleeves are gone. I sweat.
We got Dion on
sweat. And
that.
then Dion says, if Smallwood makes 53, then Eagles have to practice squad Josh Adams, tuck him away for a year.
Sure.
I would have Adams a few snaps behind the starting offensive line. I agree. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. They'll redshirt him probably this year.
Just like they did. So
I mean, I like the idea that the fourth back on any team is a position where you can put a guy in it to learn. He'll get his reps and he'll play a little bit, but it's a spot for someone who in the preseason has done enough, has earned that spot, and a position to learn, so that, like a Corey Clement last year, then can step in and take a more prolific role going into the next year.
YouTube. So I'm going to hop on YouTube. We got a bunch of people.
Yeah, it's been flying on YouTube.
Flying. So
get it going. What's up, YouTube fam?
ASMR, me of everything, says, what's up? David Rosca says, what's up, boys? It was awesome to see Trish Stratus come back to WWE last night. That's awesome. I might have to tune in.
She looked pretty hot.
Her and
more on that on this isn't lazy booking, as we said, but that's Thursday, guys. We'll get into that on Thursday.
Her and Alexa
night.
Bliss together? Jeez.
Are
they on two different shows?
They're having a match. Yeah, it's like your wet dream right there.
I might have to watch.
Sorry, Mary.
Get Lita in there. Then it's done. If Lita goes in there,
sorry, fiance. Not my fiance, his.
F Deems does say that I hate how people are freaking out. I do too.
Yeah.
He also says, let's see. Oh, ASMR says, did you hear we're in the market for a wide receiver? What's your thoughts? We are not in the market for a wide
No,
receiver.
I don't
I don't
see
buy
it.
We are not going to
There's
be
enough.
No.
There's enough depth there that I
Yeah.
don't think they need to
Expect-
be concerned for that.
I think you can expect a good healthy dose of 12 personnel with Goddard in there.
And I believe
So-
what was reported today with Adam Schefter and Chris Mortensen was, it looks like Alshon's going to miss the first 2 games.
Which is no surprise.
They're
I expect
not.
that.
They're going to take him off the PUP list because they are optimistic he'll be ready to go by week 3.
Exactly.
And
which
of
is
course,
very encouraging.
and had he stayed on the PUP list, he would be ready by until like week
I think
7.
He'd have to miss
yeah,
seven
he'd have
or
to miss
8.
the first 6 games.
Which is totally asinine.
And
I
if-
don't know why.
And
Why?
if that was an issue, then maybe for the right deal, I could see them looking at other wide receivers.
Right.
But
That won't be.
even then, to me, it was a little bit of a stretch. If you're going to go out and make a move, you have running back issues, you have defensive line issues, you have, or not even issues, but you have concerns for depth in all these different positions. Linebacker, they're going to go in and they're going to fill those well before they look at a wide receiver
I
at this point.
completely agree. Let's see.
I mean, it would have to be a deal that is too good to pass
Yeah.
up on.
F Team says biggest concern: Reich and Flip leaving. That's a legit concern.
That
I
is
mean,
a
that's
fair concern.
That's a fair concern. Like you got to see again. It's Doug Peace offense, so I don't think it's going to be logically. It wouldn't be too drastic, but at the same time, it is 2 pivotal staff members
Yeah.
leaving at the same time.
Right. I
So-
think in terms of the actual role that they filled, Doug's offense, so I don't think you're changing much. And when you talk about Flip, he's done his job with Carson at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if we were still looking to grow or develop a young quarterback, then I think that maybe that's something you look at. But I don't really see him doing much more with Carson to where it's going to be a huge concern. But if you're looking at, again, stability of the coaching staff, guys being familiar with these guys being around and being comfortable with taking direction from them, it's a valid point. Sure, absolutely.
Dick Cheese McGee.
Oh, jeez, nice name.
That's an awesome name.
I like it.
He says, I want to see my lot of returning kickoffs, which I don't think we'll see, but I do have to mention, I'm glad he brought him up.
Okay.
Have you, I don't know if you've seen, my lot of snaps against the Browns,
Mm-hmm.
they're pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Man, like, all right, because we all knew going into here, and I think we sat here with Paulie, we're like, okay, guys, don't expect anything from Mailata. He is a project of projects. He's never played football before. Don't expect anything his first year. He'll probably be on the practice squad. It'll take years for him to get up to, competent level of playing, if ever.
Mm-hmm.
He really did not look bad. There are technique stuff that he was doing that some tackles in this league, like an Eric Flowers of the Giants, still does not. He does not know how to do.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that Mailata was bad, was out of this world, is ready to be the left tackle after Jason Peters. But what I'm saying is, in terms of expectations, like what the realistic expectations were for Mailata, he's exceeded them.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing.
That's very, very, very impressive.
I think I was in the minority, not the only one, but definitely
Right.
in the minority of saying I didn't mind the pick.
Oh, I didn't.
I
I
think
didn't
the
mind the
I
pick.
didn't mind it. I was
I
pretty.
didn't mind it.
I
It's a
was
seventh
surpri-
round pick. Why
I was-
would you? Yeah. Why would
Like
anyone
I was,
mind
I
the
was
pick?
surprised by the pick. I'm like, all right. Let's find a running back. Let's find a linebacker out of
diamond in
nowhere
the rough.
from South Sydney
Yeah.
Rabbitohs Rugby Club. Wait, what? that was my initial
It's a
reaction.
seventh round pick. You
yeah.
can't hate the pick.
There's a lot of physical talent there. For
Oh,
him.
yeah.
He's a freak of nature.
The
Yeah.
question was, is he going to be able to learn playing a system game
Right.
with playing with equipment on, pads and
Yeah.
whatnot, and being able to, we talked about, okay, when you're not wearing all that stuff, being able to cut and make shifts and
Right.
and keep up with that kind of a style. I think he's been pretty good so
Yeah.
far.
Yes.
He seems to be a quick learner, which is all you could ask for.
Yes.
And
very similar games, rugby and the good old American football.
yeah.
Oh my gosh! Like he was one
So
of
he
the.
knows
There's
how
a
to
lot of
scrum. He knows
skills
how
to
to scrum
translate.
and all that. Yeah.
I could see why people were optimistic about him giving a shot at the NFL.
So
the
far-
guy and the
so
guy
far it's
can
paying
run.
off.
And
Yes.
the guy can run. So
can
I would
move.
not be surprised if somebody in the coaching staff came up and was like,
Maybe.
let's do a play where Mailata's going to take the ball, run it in a la Refrigerator Perry.
We'll see about that.
That's what I'm thinking.
We'll
I'm thinking
see.
they're going
We'll
to
see
make.
how
I
that
think they're going to
plays
make
out.
a special type of set plays to short
Where
yardage
he's what, the fullback?
situations where Mailata's the fullback, and they make him run it into the end zone for like 2-3 yards.
I wouldn't be surprised if you have him like as like an offset lineman in a
Yeah.
heavy set package on the goal line, and then somehow like he'll motion into the backfield. Like Doug
Yeah.
Peterson will motion him in
Sure.
in at fullback and confuse the defense. And I mean,
Yeah,
we've
listen,
seen crazier things.
In the end, it may not pan out.
Yeah.
That's fine. But, I mean, I've seen enough talent to show me once again that this organization, these guys, Doug EP and Howie and all the decision makers are very good at evaluating talent and being able to recognize that
They've
something's
become,
there. It's can we complete that package and
Yeah.
polish it off? And that a lot of that's on the player. But as far as being able to recognize the talent, they've shown they could do it.
Yeah.
And again, I think they've already gotten more out of them in those preseason in the preseason than anybody gave them credit for being able to get out of them.
You know what's also impressive is that one of the beat reporters for the Eagles that I follow, Benjamin Solak from Bleeding Green Nation, he's really smart guy.
Bleeding Green Nation.
BGN.
He was doing a piece on Mailata, and so he was interviewing him a lot. And one of the observations he says with Mailata is that his whole attitude during all of training camp and preseason has been completely the opposite of what you usually get from projects like him. When you have like people who have never played football before and they're like 7th round picks that come into a team, usually they get overwhelmed and they get stressed, and you can see it. And like they hit a certain point where you can tell they're like ready to quit. But with Mailata, every single day he comes in with a great attitude. He comes in and even though he's getting yelled at by Jeff Stoutland, the offensive line coach, and by the offensive coordinators, Mailata will have a great attitude and be like, I'm just glad to be here. It's awesome. This is awesome. And he's learning. And I think that's a big thing is because you have that mentality. Like, again, this guy's never, ever played football. He is learning football, left tackle, for the first time in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it speaks volumes to his self as a person and his character that he's not overwhelmed by this whole thing. And that's great. I think I'm very, very pleased to see that he's ahead of the quote unquote learning curve.
Sure.
Now again, development it's never linear. Progression is not linear. He could have hiccups, maybe hit like a slope and then like maybe he'll level off a little bit, but I mean right now you can't help but be impressed.
Yeah,
you really can't help but be impressed.
Just a reminder real quick, guys, we're live on Instagram this week. So if you're on Instagram and you're watching, guys, please feel free to comment in the section. I'm going back and forth between Facebook and Instagram. Charles, keep an eye on YouTube. We're trying to check Periscope too. If you guys have anything you want to contribute to the show, questions, answer the poll question, whatever, make sure you get involved. This is family talk. This is what we do here at A2D Radio across our platform. We we have our voice, but our voice is also your voice. So please make sure that you guys chime in.
Just like what that Bob Menery guy says, for the fans, by the fans.
Wow, you
Ripper
did-
Magoo's.
That's a good impression.
That was actually a really good
That was
impression.
really
Bob.
Bob
I
Menery
was
doing
impressed with that one.
me doing an impression of Bob Menery doing an impression of a sports announcer.
I started doing it with you, and I was like, damn, that's pretty good. I'm going to shut up. and
We're
let him
gonna
finish
get
it.
some Ripper Magoo's.
That's awesome. F. Deem says the scheme is pretty much 2 linebackers and a third who can cover tight end or running back. I think it's more so, like we play a lot of nickel, so does like a lot of NFL. But I think with our 2 linebackers, we ask our linebackers a lot in coverage more than some teams. And this is the thing, like Bradham and Hicks, they're great coverage linebackers because we require them to. With my point about Bowman is at this point of his career, he's more of a downhill kind of linebacker. Like he could be what Ellerby was last year, where Ellerby came in base packages and was just there to stop the run. Bowman can do that, but Bowman can't really cover anymore, and that's where my concern is. You're gonna bring him in, he doesn't really have any versatility, so that's what will concern me.
Yeah.
This guy's username is interesting.
Is it 1 out of 1,000 people?
One out of 1,000 people. World is always filled. Okay. Nick Foles is not acting out. People shouldn't be surprised about him. The Patriots wasn't able to produce pressure, but the Browns study his every move, and they gave him 5 sacks. I think it has more to do with the fact that Big V was just not good.
Yeah. He was
And
on
Myles
cruise
Garrett was
control.
Big V.
F Team says Nick Foles is who he is. The 2 playoff games aren't his whole career. He needs to be game planned for and kept clean. Correct. We're going to. F Team says shit. If this means the Giants don't win, pay the man $395 million. Talking about OBJ. 1,000 people says look at Josh Norman and the rest of them. I wonder why OBJ is so hated. All right, yeah, I mean, like, around here is very hated for obvious reasons. I think some of it is a little bit overblown. That's all I'm saying. He is a great talent. I don't think anyone can really deny that.
No, it's the antics of stuff, and
Yeah.
and it's not that stuff is not just here. He's known for that. He's starting to get somewhat of a reputation for that. I mean, again, I threw the T.O. comparison out for a reason, and I wasn't saying he's T.O. because T.O.'s entire career was basically predicated on his talent, but being a guy that was way over the top, and he was a huge mouthpiece. But you can't just let that stuff go. You can't let a guy sit there and act like he's pissing on a field, or have videos coming out of him eating pizza and doing coke, or having coke, in his presence and doing all this stuff. And that stuff's just not going to fall by the wayside.
Oh yeah, I hear you.
I think he's a super talented guy, and I don't know if, for me, I question if he is a guy who enjoys the celebrity of it a little bit more than being focused on winning a championship. And I mean, we'll see. Time will tell. From a football standpoint, I hope that it's not the case.
Yeah.
I think we just got dropped off of Facebook for a minute.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
we're there. Okay.
Are we still up on the other platforms?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Dick Cheese McGee says it's because his hair looks like he has a plate of French fries on his head. I guess I'm talking about OBJ. F Team says, I love Jalen. Agreed. I love Jalen Mills, but come on, we aren't trashing his hair. OBJ's hair is no different than any other 5,000 people with the same haircut.
Well, I don't trash his hair. If
yeah,
people
I don't
do
trash
that,
his
that's
hair.
petty.
ASMR said, totally agree. It might have been a false report. I think that was talking about Alshon. Remember when I mentioned Alshon being on the pup. Yeah, I think that was a false report. That's the thing about Ian Rappaport. He's the one that said it. And his report was Alshon might be, or Alshon could be on the pup to start the year. But the thing is, that's how Ian Rappaport does his report sometimes. He says could have, or might be, or could be. And so he covers his ass both ways, so that if it does happen, he can say he reported it. But if it doesn't happen, he covers himself because he says he could. So I don't pay attention to Ian Rappaport a lot because he does try to break news like that. That's not accurate. Are you still down on Facebook?
I think Facebook and YouTube are down.
Are they both down?
Yeah, just keep going, just so we got the recording going.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, good.
Well, I'm down. I'm gonna try going on my phone because I have no internet connection. But, let's see. It's try to get in here. Sorry, folks. Trying to hit the chat. Okay, there you go. I'm on my phone. So, David Rosca chimes in. OBJ needs a Super Bowl ring. ASMR says, F OBJ. He's a crybaby. The games, 1 out of 1,000 people says the games they're supposed to win easily, they haven't been doing that. Their offense struggled near the end of the season.
Yeah.
I think they're talking about they're going back and forth between the Eagles, talking about Eagles and Giants games on here.
Okay.
Are you on Facebook?
I am on Facebook. We are still, looks like we're still live on Instagram.
Sweet.
Instagram and Periscope are still good.
So good on you
Cool.
guys. You guys get like the, you guys still get us.
Exclusive.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
So, Well, if you're in Instagram, guys, make sure you are commenting with us, guys, because we want to talk with you. And Periscope. Philly
Very
Boy
good.
says, boy. What's up, brother?
What up? What up? Any
See,
other
I don't want to
concerns?
get. Well, I don't. Yeah, we could go over because I don't want to get into the preview of the Jets game yet
Mm-hmm.
because I want to try to get us back up so we can talk on all platforms for that.
Sure, sure.
But, I mean, I'm trying to. I really don't know. I mean, again, I'm not really super concerned about Nick Foles. I'll be a little bit. He's gonna have to come out. He's gonna have to work and come out. I know he's a notorious slow starter, but
I know.
there has to
Tell me
be.
about it,
There
yeah.
has to be.
There has to be improvement and more.
I don't
more
know.
of
I
that.
mean, what are your other concerns? I'm not overly concerned. I mean, there's things
not
I'm
overly
nitpicking
concerned,
for
yeah.
things at this point.
Exactly.
And I know
I agree.
the thing is in this city, and I understand the lineage and history of not being known such a huge winning city, but you actually. I can refute that. I believe that I did a couple of weeks ago. Was it not that I brought that up, or maybe I told you that privately? That in the history of American, North American, I think professional sports, the actual city of Philadelphia is like the top 3 or 4
I did not know that.
winningest city.
Are we really?
In professional sports
Yeah,
history?
like in terms of everything.
I'd have to try to pull the numbers up.
Now, how much
But-
is that paid in
Well, what people don't factor in, and again, because it's not our lifetime, a lot of us was the Philadelphia Athletics won a lot of
Yeah.
World Series back in the early 1900s before they moved in, I believe, the 50s, and then we had the Phillies. But you had the Eagles technically have 2 championships because they have an NFL
'cause of the
championship.
NFL, the two of them, yeah.
Sixers have 2 championships. People don't realize that Philadelphia actually, in terms of number, not in the last 50 or 60 years, but in terms of an actual
Total
number,
number in
one of the
history.
winningest sports city, one of the winningest cities in professional sports in North America.
Now, does that take into account the fact that we're one of the cities that have all 4 sports teams and some others
Sure.
don't?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Because, yeah, I know because you have, I forget how many cities, because you have, like, us, obviously New York, L.A.,
Boston.
Chicago, Boston. Trying to think of any other ones, because those are the major cities. Does Texas have all 4? Now, see, like, it's tough with Texas because I know you have
Yeah, well, Texas,
Dallas, but then you also have Houston. So I know with basketball you have Dallas
There's the
Mavericks,
Mavericks,
and then
the Dallas
Houston
Stars.
Rockets, Dallas Stars. So is Dallas,
For all intents and purposes, the Rangers play in Arlington, which is right next
which
to
is
Dallas.
okay? So Dallas would be one of the 4.
Yeah, so technically, yeah, they do too.
Cool.
So there's, but I understand the frustration, particularly we're talking about our lifetime. But that being said, this team just came off of a massive Super Bowl championship. And they are set. They have young talent in place to continue to sustain the success going forward.
Yeah.
Look at who we're concerned about. We're concerned about Nick Foles, not going to be here next year. We're concerned about the running back depth. Darren Sproles is going to be gone. I think Adams is going to be fine. I think he's going to continue to grow. And the wide receiving core. I mean, Alshon Jeffrey's hurt, but how many really young, good wide receivers do we have right now?
Mm-hmm.
You talked about the defensive line, but I think that there's good young pieces there that are going to be cornerstones of this organization. So I think we're nitpicking at things because of what we're seeing in preseason.
Yeah.
And I know that we're used to that. But in the actuality of things, I just don't see preseason as being the benchmark or the measuring stone for
It's
anything.
funny because it's a little bit different than years past, because years past, if this kind of stuff had happened, think about it, like before this year, if we had gotten 0-3 and looked like this, people would it would be left and right, like,
Sure.
oh my gosh, like overreaction left and right. But I feel like because we won the Super Bowl, there's a little bit more of a sense of like relaxation upon a certain group of fans. Not again, you still get those who are overreacting, but at the same time, I think a good portion of them are just like, we'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, I think, too, one of the things that the Eagles did so well last year that people aren't factoring in, because you're not going to see it necessarily in the preseason, and one of the key factors that factored into a lot of our wins was Doug Peterson's second half adjustments.
Exactly.
It's very different in preseason.
And overall
'cause
game
essentially-
preparation.
Yeah, I mean you're preparing and you're adjusting very differently in the preseason. It's more about getting guys in, getting their reps, and running the offense as you would want run it, and giving these guys opportunities
Exactly.
to see what's there to maximize those talents that they have.
You hit the nail on the head. Exactly. Like there were plays, I think it was in the first half of last week's game, where I saw numerous times, third and whatever distance it was, and Nick Foles was throwing short of the sticks on purpose. You can't tell me that Doug Peterson is going to call plays in the regular season that's constantly short of the sticks on third down. No, that's not going to happen. And like in preseason, coaches don't game plan each week for the opponent. They don't. They just go out there to exactly
That's a Chip
what you
Kelly
said.
or an Andy move to do that.
Yeah. So it's exactly what you said. Like they call plays to just get an evaluation of a player to see how they would handle certain situations. They don't game plan to beat the team. And so that's a huge thing. They're not doing that. So
no, for all intents and purposes, that other team on the other side of the field is to have a bona fide team or talent to run those reps against.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
Wins and losses in preseason don't mean shit.
They don't mean anything.
There's nothing to that.
They don't mean anything. Trying to see if there's anything else. They're having good chats. They're talking a lot on the YouTube. I keep saying the YouTube. What are they talking about? They're talking about Giants. They went from talking about the Patriots
On YouTube?
on the YouTube.
Are we back up on YouTube?
We've been on YouTube. I'm on my phone and it's still active. 1 in 1,000 people says Nick Foles isn't that much to be concerned about. F Team says I am. I'm just responding to him saying he's more afraid of the Giants' offense than Phillies. Who said that? That's interesting. I'm trying to.
What was that?
Scroll back. He said F Team said he's responding to him saying someone is more afraid of the Giants' offense than Phillies' offense.
Who is that?
I don't know. I'm trying to find it. Ooh. That's an interesting take. I mean, okay, they have OBJ.
I think the Giant. We're back up. Good stuff.
Cool.
Are we back on Facebook? I'm almost wondering if we should just do the second half of the show on Facebook and then run the. Yeah. All right. Sorry, guys. We're working through some technical difficulties, but we're getting there. Thanks for bearing with us.
We're working
So here's what I'll say, and I've been saying it, and I'll say it again because I like to think I'm a realistic person. I give the Giants the benefit of the doubt from last season because with the injury issues they had, with the absolutely unnecessary, ridiculous shenanigans with their head coach and sitting Eli Manning, in my opinion, needlessly for Geno Smith, there was just a lot going on there. And I think that you never really got to see what the Giants' identity was last year. Coming into this year, healthy, adding a Saquon Barkley, obviously, to the team. I do think Evan Ingram is a very good player.
Yes, very good. Yep.
I think Sterling Shepard is a very good player. I think their offense can be high-powered. It's going to be the offensive line. It's going to be how good that they're going to play. And I think that that's going to determine how good that offense can be. And it's how much does Eli have in the tank as far as grinding it out all season. The reality is he's 37 years old at this point, I believe, right?
I think, yeah. He's late 30s.
He's 37, I believe. And
he's the big question mark. Well, him and that right side of the offensive line, big question mark.
Yeah, and if those things are clicking, I think the Giants are a very good team this year.
Yeah.
I think that they have a lot going for them. That's big question marks, man, because you're going to need that entire offensive line to create opportunities for the passing game and for Saquon Barkley. I think he's a talented guy. He can overcome some of it, but if you're essentially running behind a half of a line for an entire season, the wear and
That's
tear is
tough.
going to happen.
Oh, yeah, it's
You're at
tough.
one of the toughest positions in the game.
I don't care
Or
who
the-
you are. You could be Barry Sanders. Like Barry Sanders might have been the only one who could consistently run behind a bad offensive line for his whole career.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Like, and it took Barry Sanders to be able to do that. Like, running backs need a good offensive line. At least you need a solid offensive line. So, I mean, the Giants again. They addressed the left side, and that's great. They got Nate Solder, and they got Will Hernandez, and I think they're going to be perfectly fine on the left side.
Yeah, I agree.
From center on to right tackle, that's still the question mark. Especially at Eric Flowers. Eric Flowers is terrible. I'm gonna say it again and again. He's terrible. So.
He's really, really bad.
He's really bad.
Really, really bad.
So, that is a question mark, and I don't want to seem like a hater, and I'm just calling it as it is. I don't believe in Eli at this point. Like, you ask a lot of New York fans, they still do, and fine, that's fine. But
and
I
in
don't.
fairness to them, he bought you 2 championships. He hasn't been terrible. Aside from last year, which I don't think was his fault, they have every right to still have confidence in Eli. That being said, nah,
Yeah, I don't.
I don't know.
Based on how he's looked, even regardless of the situation last year, even before that, I just don't think he's a starting quarterback in the top half of the league.
F. Deem says Barkley's going to have to run like Barry. That's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was also F Team says that 1 in 1,000 people is the one that was saying that he doesn't think our offense is dominant. I would disagree. I think if you're just going off of last season, then you can't make any assumptions about this season. If you're going off of last season, our offense was pretty. Like, I wouldn't say it was a top offense in the league, but it was pretty impressive. If you take into effect what we did against numerous teams.
It's pretty damn
What did
bad.
we do against the Broncos that week, which was supposed to be the number one defense in the whole NFL at that point? We annihilated them.
Listen, I thought we had a very high-powered offense last year.
Yes, you did.
And it only got better. Now you lose LeGarrette Blount, and that's definitely a loss. There's no question about that. But on the flip side, you come in and you add other pieces to the mix. You upgrade with Mike Williams over Torrey Smith.
Oh, you mean
Or Mike Wallace.
Mike Wallace.
Williams, sorry.
Mike
Mike Wallace. Too many fantasy football drafts.
Mike Williams, Chargers. That'd be dope if we had Mike
I know.
Williams. Go ahead.
No, you upgrade with Mike Wallace this year. You add Dallas Goedert, which to me, that Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz
That's gonna be
have
scary.
the potential to be, I don't know quite at that level, but as close as you're going to get to a tandem of a Gronk and an Aaron Hernandez
Which
before he
were
was a
amazing,
scumbag.
Yeah.
Well, he was. People would argue he was then, but as far as the talent on the football field, a 1-2 punch at tight end,
Yeah.
absolutely. We know Carson loves his tight ends. He absolutely utilizes them, and I like Dallas. I think Dallas has the potential to be better than Ertz in a couple of years because the thing with Dallas is he's balls out. He has no problem taking a hit and going for that yak, which is my thing. You know,
Yeah, I know.
I love Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
Zach Ertz. But the yak
It's not there.
drives me insane.
It really does.
It does every game. Goddamn, come on.
If he gets 5 yards, we're yelling and screaming like, "Hey!"
Start calling him yak
Oh
Ertz.
my gosh! But I think
That's my thing.
Yeah, I think based on the comments, he's like, and then I'm reading, 1 in 1,000 people was talking about like who the weapons we have, who's going to be available week 1. But I think he's not. And again, I'm just skimming through. If I'm missing stuff, I do apologize. But I think to anyone that wants to make the case that the Eagles won't have a dominant offense this year, they need to also take into fact that we have probably, arguably, the best offensive line in the game, and that's huge. When you can protect the quarterback and give them time, a lot of quarterbacks can do a lot of things. And then it also opens things for our running game. Our running game is going to be good too. Yeah, Blunt we don't have anymore, but Ajayi is going to step in. He's going to be the lead back along with another year of Clement, who should improve too, should get better. And then you have Sproles coming back, who's going to add another dimension. So you can't take the offensive line and our running backs out of the equation. I think our offense might not be the number one offense in the league, but again, for the second straight year, I think they could be. I think they could be at least toward the top of the league.
Sure.
You can't, and as long as if number 11 Carson Wentz is behind center,
That's the difference maker.
that's a difference maker.
That is the difference maker. And there's like a little back and forth of if Carson's going to play week 1. A lot of people believe, just reading through the chat, that that it could be a smoke screen and Carson's going to be ready to go for week 1, which me and Frank were talking about
It's possible.
earlier. Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't. But we'll see. Nice, sir.
Are you on Facebook or YouTube?
I'm on YouTube because
YouTube, yeah.
Did we go back up on Facebook, Frank?
Yeah, we've been on Facebook for a while.
Cool.
It was just trying to.
No,
All right,
it's all
so,
good.
So,
It's all
so what
good.
happened was our one of our networks kind of went down, and we had to check, make sure that we were good to go.
Cool.
So,
No,
Oh,
good.
gotcha.
Okay.
so it was still going, and just to be sure it was right. Thank goodness for backup Wi-Fi. So
Backup Wi-Fi.
woohoo!
Oh, that's good.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, well,
Yeah, because I think I'm down on Wi-Fi on my laptop. So.
Yeah, it's been a little bit weird. I think it's just due to the heat wave and all that.
Could
I
be.
know it's been messing up some signals.
thank you guys for sticking with us. through
Yes.
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
Michael Jenkinson, this team will go 13-3 preseason means nothing. Janelle and Driver puts an emoji with heart eyes. We love you too, Janelle.
Love.
Dion Brown says,
Aw.
I need Ajayi to be ready to go because he'll shoulder the bulk of the carries in the running back room.
Yes.
I
I think he will be.
can't read his other comment. The Giants.
I
O-line.
don't know if I would be able to either because
Oh,
I'm on
'cause
my
you can't
phone.
use your laptop. Sorry, Dion. I apologize. We're not ignoring your comment. Facebook sucks.
Which
Redo
one?
your comment.
Oh,
with
which
one line
one?
each.
Which one?
It's Dion's comment about
After
it says-
after the emoji hearts.
Yes.
I
Oh,
needed,
no. He says it's the Giants O-line.
The
It's the one
Giants
above it.
O-line will have problems with our D-line based on how we keep fresh legs on heavy rotations. For that matter, every team might. That's a plus for us. Will we miss Curry? Depends on the growth of Barnett and getting Sweat some reps at all.
With Barnett, before we go to break, I know we have 2 minutes, but I still want to see more out of Barnett.
I think we will.
I think here's my thing with Barnett. Like looking at his individual reps. Barnett is the type of person that he'll make plays, but when it comes to strictly rushing the passer off the edge, he doesn't do a lot. Like against, I think it was week 2 against the Patriots. Their new left tackle, Trent Brown. When Barnett faced off against him, he got no pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But when Steven Means came in and was able to, and was facing off against Trent Brown, he beat him 3 times for 3 quarterback pressures.
Right.
So when a guy like Steven Means is able to beat his matchup against Trent Brown, who is a really good left tackle, but Derek Barnett can't.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's something worth noting. It's not something it's not a cause for concern or a red flag. It's just something to note. Like, all right, you're gonna have to start to generate more pressure on your own.
Right.
You can't rely. Now he does have a high motor. He makes plays. He's around the ball. On run defense, he knows how to contain and shed blocks and everything, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to doing what you were supposed to do, you gotta start showing quality reps. You gotta start putting quality reps on tape, and he hasn't done that in preseason. So I want to see more of him as the season goes on. He's still young. I'm not losing patience with him. I'm just making note to anyone out there. I'm just saying that if we're gonna expect Barnett to have a big role, he's got to do better.
Oh, yeah. And I fully expect that. I think last year he got better as the season went on, and I expect him to make strides again this year. We're going to take our break. We're going to head over exclusively to the YouTube. Again, thanks, guys, for bearing with us with some of the issues that we had there. As far as the feed, if you're joining us on Instagram, Periscope, Facebook, please jump over to YouTube, search a2dradio.com or just A2D Radio. Like, subscribe, dropping videos over there. We'll have the second half of the show. We're gonna do a preview of the Eagles and Jets final preseason game. we're going to do a little bit of a fantasy football recap. Just kind of go through some of the trends we've seen so that if you guys still have drafts going, we help you guys out going forward. And, of course, our No Huddle segment. So for, again, first half of the show, brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, our certified public accountants. Make them yours, GibsonMayer.com. Obviously, our poll question brought to us by Scanzano Sports, ScanzanoSports.com. For Charles, Chrome, Frank, see you guys on the other side.
Hi, folks. Bob Menery here, and you're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
That was good, Frank. Real good.
Thank you.
That was good, Frank.
Welcome back to Lazy Boy. Oh, my God. Birds of a Feather. I can't
Two
get
for
my shit
two.
together tonight, guys. I'm 2 for 2. Damn. Welcome back to
Oh,
Birds
thanks,
of a Feather.
Rosca.
Welcome back to Birds of a Feather, exclusively on YouTube now, live on A2D Radio from the Real Talk Studios. Second half of the show brought to you by StreamSmart, StreamSmart.com. And obviously, as always, and we love them, our Scanzano Sports poll question. What is your biggest concern right now for the Philadelphia Eagles? As far as what we've seen, is it Carson Wentz being ready for week 1, Nick Foles and his preseason struggles, linebacker depth, defensive tackle depth? We've talked some other things, running back depth. Continue to chime in, guys, on Facebook, or I'm sorry, on YouTube. I'm a mess tonight, guys.
It's all right.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a snafu, which kind of put us behind. So we're going to do the preview for the Jets game now. Frank, did you still have that list of
I
the
do have the list.
the linebackers? Can you pull that up? I'd like to start with that
Yes.
before we get in. I didn't mean to bypass that.
Yeah.
So I would like
Me-
to hear some of the names out there and see if anybody.
We do a little
tickles our
switcheroo
fancy.
real quick before we get to that.
Yeah, because I'm curious. I'm sure there's going to be names on there that we're not even thinking
All
of
right.
at this point. But I'd be curious just to see if there's anybody that you'd take a flyer on. I would take a flyer on Bowman if it makes sense for us.
All right. Our list of current free agent running backs. We got
Linebackers.
Linebackers.
Right?
linebackers. Yep.
Okay. Just making sure.
We got Navarro Bowman.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. We'll do a simple yes or no.
Let's see. Got to go down all these lists because a lot of these guys have been signed and they haven't updated it. Brian Cushing,
No.
No.
Not a scheme fit. 3-4.
Corey Toomer.
Corey Toomer.
Yep.
I'm not really familiar with
Me
him.
neither. I'm going to say no.
No.
Carlos Dansby.
He's not a scheme fit either.
Yeah, no.
And the thing is reloading on me as I'm going through the list.
That's okay.
There's
There's not a lot out there. to be
Not a
honest.
lot. I know one.
I mean, this is like essentially that list is on a ranking, so you're
Basically.
you're going backwards here.
yeah, I'm going way.
So to me, Bowman's
back.
it. Otherwise, you find something internally you
Bowman.
figure it out. Unless you're gonna,
Yep.
you're
Yeah.
not gonna make a trade at this point. Not unless it makes absolute
And
sense.
like some of the other notable names I could see on here: Lawrence Timmons,
No.
previously of the Dolphins.
No.
Donnell Ellerby.
Do you want to go down that route
Well,
again?
again, that's going to the thing is if you want Ellerby, you might as well sign Bowman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same
And then-
style, but Bowman will be the better player.
But there is a familiarity
Familiarity
with
would be the only
Ellerby.
one, yeah.
And then other than that, we're just going down to like special teams
Yeah,
guys.
no, it's all good. Maybe Ellerby, if you're looking at a guy who's been here and has a
The
familiarity,
I can,
or
yeah.
Bowman. That's probably the only
Yeah.
two names I would consider at this point if you really needed the depth.
I can see that, yeah.
So this week we got the Jets. What are you looking for? What are you guys thinking? As we said, Foles
I'm gonna
isn't
get
playing
made fun of.
Sutcliffe's-
I'm gonna get made fun of again, but I'm just gonna say it. Donnell Pumphrey is only doing this is his. He's back at practice.
Okay.
Let's see what he can do. Now again, I'm not saying he's gonna make the team, but it is to me. It's interesting because he was at the start of training camp the lead for the fourth running back spot before he got hurt.
If he
so
comes,
I want to see. Okay, if you really were that much improved, let's see it on the field. That's all I'm saying.
if he comes in and he has a really good game, do you think there's enough of a case to throw him into the conversation,
No.
or is it too little, too late?
It's too little, too late. But I still want to see it. I still want to see what the improvements were, because everyone said it. All the B reporters were saying this Pumphrey looks a lot better than last year, and he so far was looking like the better running back. But he got hurt. He was hurt for 3 weeks. You can't have that. You can't rely on that. So he should not make the team. But I do want to see just how good his improvement was. That's my point. So we'll see what the running backs do. I want to see. I don't know how much playing time he'll get, but I do want to see more Shelton Gibson.
Yeah.
I wrote an article about him last week, and it's out about like his development, his emergence, and I think he's going to be. I don't want to say significant, but I think he's going to be another player who's going to have a role on this team, and I want to see him continue to develop, get more reps. Because with Alshon out, who knows? He might have to make a catch or two in each of these first few weeks.
Sure.
While Alshon's out, and plus he's our kick returner.
Yep.
So I want to see him and how he does. I think the one thing that of his game that he does need to work at, and you started to see it against the Browns, is he still has a problem with contact.
Yeah.
And being facing physical corners. That one deep shot that was thrown to him by Sudfeld. Along the sideline, you could see he got bodied and he lost his cushion on the sideline, and therefore he was forced out of bounds and he had no shot at the pass. So he's got to work on working through contact. Oh, and he got lit up too on one run block or one not run block, but one play when he was trying to set a block for someone and he got absolutely annihilated. And I was like, ooh, that hurts. But
F Teams is throwing a lot in here. I agree with a lot of it, but he says, he said Bowman yes, Cushing no, Dansby no, Timmons no. He said I'm looking for who makes the fourth running back spot. That's the thing I'm coming out of this the most intrigued by, because again, I don't want to see somebody have it handed to them. So I want to see somebody emerge this week. I don't know if we're going to get that, but I want to see somebody emerge
you'd like
this
to see
week.
it. It's like you'd like to see someone be like, okay, this is mine.
He wants to see what Mailata is going to do.
Yep.
He wants to see Josh
Sweat.
And he wants to see more of DeAndre Carter.
Who looked really good in the third preseason. He played well.
I mean, that's a lot of – I agree with pretty much everything that you said there.
Yeah.
It's all very intriguing things to take a look at in this last preseason game.
Now, here's the thing. Because this is what I was saying. If none of those running backs make a convincing case for the fourth spot, I personally would rather see guys like Mailata and DeAndre Carter get the spot. Because, okay, like, you want to talk about DeAndre Carter, like, the only way he makes the roster to me is as a seventh wide receiver. Because if you want to go down the line, Aguilar, Alshon, Mike Wallace, and then you have Matt Collins, Shelton Gibson, that's 5. And then, or I guess DeAndre Carter would be the 6th, right? So he'd be the 6th wide receiver. So I'd want to see DeAndre Carter, unless I'm missing someone, but I want to see DeAndre Carter make the team if he continues to show that he earns it.
And ASMR, me of everything, says Carter better make the team. F. Deems chimes in. He says, I like the way Adams runs. He likes it a lot. I do too. I just don't know that he's definitively won the fourth spot. I think it's going to end up being Wendell Smallwood. A lot of by default, unfortunately. We'll see.
Yeah.
That's more what I'm intrigued by and seeing. I think the defenses look pretty good in the preseason.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot there I'm concerned with, and we kind of know who's going to be going in and filling, for the most part, what roles.
Tackling. I think tackling would be another. But again, it's preseason. That could be just rust or people just not really putting their not wanting to get too physical in a meaningless game. So I get that, but if you want to point out one thing that I didn't notice was tackling. We had a lot of big runs against us in the off season, but hopefully that pays off. But I will say Jordan Hicks looked a lot better in the third game than he did the first 2 games. He was flying all over the field making plays. So that's good.
He's got to knock that rust off.
Yes.
SJM86 says, I'm okay with Adams making the fourth running back spot, but if it's Smallwood or Jones, they may as well cut them all and see who else is out there. F. Deems chimes in right behind that and says Matt Jones is done.
Yeah.
I
Who?
agree with that.
Matt Jones.
Matt Jones. I agree with that, but I don't know if I agree with cutting all of them. I don't think it's a bad move if Adams ends up getting redshirted this year. I think it's going to end up being Smallwood.
Yeah.
He says, NF team says tackling is a concern due to the new rule. Totally agree with that.
They laid off in week 3.
Yeah, well,
There weren't as many.
I
I don't think there
hope-
was one in the Eagles game.
I hope that they realize how kind of ridiculous what they're asking for is. I don't get it. And we talked about the new rule change already
I was
a couple
listening.
weeks ago.
I was listening to an interview with Dean Blandino, the head of officiating for the NFL. He was it was an interview or a sit down or something with Chris Sims, and Dean was saying that the officials by week 3 they started to get, because like I said, in the first 2 weeks of the preseason, the refs were instructed to just call everything that they thought was going to be leading with the helmet. So that's why you saw like an astronomical amount of penalties. But by week 3 they started to get more tape, and they started to reevaluate, and they started to adjust to real-time speed. And what they were told, according to Dean Blandino, was that at this point, differentiate the intentional ones from the unintentional ones.
Mm-hmm.
If it looks intentional and egregious, that's what you call. But if it doesn't look intentional, if they're really just trying to make a sound tackle, and it's just like split second, then don't call it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where you kind of saw it. Like as I blazed through a lot of the preseason games around the league, I didn't see a lot, honestly. I saw maybe 1 or 2 out of all the preseason games I watched.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that's a good sign.
No, and that's a fair assessment. I mean, we got to remember, guys, that preseason the referees are getting their, there's rule changes every year, and the referees need to get their time to kind of get adjusted to that. So, I mean, it's a great observation in terms of, you did see a lot less calls this week. I mean, they're still there, and that makes sense to me. If that's the way that they're going to approach it, that makes sense. If there's an intent to lead with like that, then I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. It is what it is. I know the NFL's been what it's been for years, but there's a lot more education out there with head injuries. And you're talking about a league that's facing numerous lawsuits from guys who made a living in that league.
Yeah.
I mean, the argument is, well, you got into it and you knew what you were getting into, but at the same time, I can kind of see the argument is you didn't know. People didn't know about CTE and stuff, and maybe people would have made different decisions.
Completely understandable.
So I kind of get it. I see both sides, but again, I don't believe in taking out the purity of the game and the naturalness of things. I would be more concerned, like if they're really expecting guys to essentially lead like this, I'd be more concerned about other injuries, neck injuries, and different things with guys. I just think they'll get it down. They'll figure it out.
Yes, I really do hope so. And I think this past week was a good sign towards that.
Yeah.
There was that Marquise Lee injury that happened he injured his knee, and Jalen Ramsey came out and did say that a lot of to blame was the new rule because people don't want to go high anymore to the head. Now they're going to go low, which I guess it's understandable. But at the same time, what I will say is there were a good number of sound, correct form tackles that I saw this past preseason or this past week for the preseason. A lot of players now I'm starting to see head up, lead with the shoulder, wrap up, drive to the ground, and listen. I'm critical of the rule too, but at the same time, my one close friend who did play football when he was younger, he keeps reiterating it. You see a lot of football players in today's game who still don't practice the proper technique, and they are leading with their helmet.
It's a fair
so
point.
If this rule does help enforce the proper technique of keeping your head up, then maybe it will help the game overall.
It'll take time. Sure, absolutely. A lot on YouTube coming in now. SJM86 says Josh Sweat has 2 really good first moves with elite quickness. Putting him around Chris Long and Bennett will help him immensely. Barnett even said last year Chris Long helped the rookies by teaching them some of his own moves. F. Deems, he says, Dean did say they were going to tone it down. How about some transparency? SJM says, Deems, I think the refs are looking for transparency just like the players. This was the owners making a rule to protect their financial investments. Fair point.
I don't think it was the owners, though. I think it was the
league.
competition
Yeah.
committee. Because Troy Vincent was also in that interview, and we all are familiar with Troy Vincent, obviously, and we know he's a former defensive player, so he knows what it's like. But he was very adamant about making the league safer, and he was very emotional when it came to stuff like, and it also the new rule with the kickoff plays a role in that too, because people don't realize a lot of ACL injuries and head injuries and concussions happen on the kickoff, and so that's why this new kickoff rule was instituted, and because it's just to risk that many injuries, serious injuries, for maybe a few plays a year where it actually makes a difference. It's not like it's not worth it to take that risk, is what he was saying, and so they wanted to change it.
Yeah. SJM also says the players and refs are all in the same boat, wondering how the hell do we abide and enforce these rules. I agree with that. F Deems, I'll get back to your question in a minute. ASMR, me of everything, says, I know we're talking birds, but God, I hate Ryan Zimmerman.
I keep forgetting he's still in the Nationals.
And F. Deems chimes in and says, this is the wrong show to ask about the Phillies. Laugh my ass off. Totally true. Not that we couldn't talk Phillies.
Right.
That Charles can't talk Phillies because Charles is
can't
not
talk
a
baseball.
baseball guy. But I do try to throw some baseball in the No Huddle segment. So stay tuned for that at the end of the show, because I do have an opinion on something with the Phillies. But Sixers JT says, foolish, I'm done with the Phils. I'm convinced they're missing the playoffs this season.
That's what a fall
Sixers
off,
JT,
man.
Phillies JT was short-lived.
Phillies JT was short-lived.
Oh, come on, JT. I don't know about a miracle. It will be tough. That's from SJM. But you got Bautista. F-Team said that.
I'm not too thrilled with it. I mean, yeah, it's an extra
I
bat,
think it's okay. Yeah, they're starting to chime in. Yeah, but we don't know if he's playing. But if he isn't, then I'll even harder is what I'm saying. Bautista is a joke. Another 200 average player. Stupid trade.
Yeah.
It's a low cost, high reward. There's no risk factor included. It's a guy who's going to be a power battle.
I mean, if this was Jose Bautista from 2012, then
you wouldn't have got him for nothing.
Yeah.
There's still, I think there could still be some pop in the tank off the bench.
There's some left in the tank.
Sure. So the question that F Deems had is Jerry Jones the new Al Davis? Yes.
The new
Is he the new Al Davis? Absolutely.
See, like, I was never too familiar with Al Davis. Like, obviously, I know who he was, obviously.
Big Al had his hands all over everything.
But I don't think I could ever say anyone was on the level of Jerry Jones in terms of I don't respect the guy at all. I think he's a scumbag. So I don't know how Al Davis was in that regards as a human being, but to me, Jerry Jones just showed me.
It's just another case of guys who, like, listen, I get it. You're an owner. You have that investment. But let the football people make the football decisions. You put people in place and a structure in place so that there can be people to make football decisions. I don't like that he's always on the sideline. I don't like that to me, he undermines a lot of that management and that structure that he puts in place. And he does it very vocally, which to me is, I think it's an issue to have to work and deal with those kind of conditions. And I don't think it's a coincidence that as he gets older, the Cowboys seem to get further and further away from their last Super Bowl championship. And that's just real talk. I think Jerry's not in touch with the league and with the game as he used to be.
That's fair.
That's just kind of where I'm at with it. JT says, no Alshon and Carson week 1. It'll be a miracle if we win. I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think that? What do you think our
It's gonna
chances
be
are if
tough.
we don't have them?
Week 1. For even if Alshon and Wentz play, I still think it's going to be a really tough
mean,
game.
Atlanta improved. I loved what they did in the draft. Atlanta is an improved team this year. It's going to be a tough matchup
It's going to be
regardless.
tough, yeah.
Full transparency, I had it marked on the schedule as a loss when I went through the first half of the schedule. This is the one I thought was probably going to be an L for sure. Well, not for sure, but if I was looking at it, this is one of the tougher games. And I think we have New Orleans the first half of the season too, right?
Do we play I don't know if we play in New Orleans.
I thought we did.
We play in the Superdome. I almost said
Yeah, we
Silverdome.
play in New Orleans. All right,
The
Hulk.
Silverdome.
All right, Hulkster.
Yeah.
Um,
I had to be sure I said the right place because I didn't want to pull Hulk Hogan. So.
I hear you.
Speaking of Jose Bautista, somebody said he's on deck. So I
Oh
guess he's
boy.
in the lineup tonight, or at least pinch hitting.
I think he is pinch hitting.
That's all right. Good. But somebody's talking cards talk.
Oh.
That's my boy SJM.
Ooh.
Hashtag long live Ozzy and LaRussa. Love the hashtag because Ozzy's my dude and I love LaRussa, but you can't put them in the same hashtag because they absolutely hated each other. And one thing I'll say about Tony LaRussa, SJM, LaRussa absolutely screwed Ozzy this last season at the end of his career to play Royce Clayton. He did not handle that the right way, which is why there's a lot of heat to this day between those two. So, but yes, I'm with you. Hashtag Cardinal Nation, baby. First place in the wild card, 26 out of 38 out of the All-Star break. Just saying. Just
Hashtag
saying.
it's all in the salsa.
It's all in the salsa, my man. You know. But
It must be some really good salsa. I want some of that salsa.
so me too. Let's talk fantasy.
Let's do it.
I know we had a fantasy show a few weeks ago, but we've had some drafts, and we were kind of just going to recap some of the stuff we've seen.
Heck
Hopefully, it'll be helpful to, some of you out there who are continuing to do fantasy football drafts.
Yeah. Yes.
So, what are some of the trends that we've seen? I've seen running backs. One of the big trends I've seen, obviously, running backs are coming off the board. I've seen Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham drop big time compared to what they were last year.
Really? Wow. Okay.
I mean, I'm seeing them drop as low as going 7th and 8th in some leagues, which is shocking to me. But I think so. What I'm seeing though is wide receiver depth seems to be very deep in those early mid rounds, to where if you go heavy on running backs
You still
early, you can absolutely compensate when you start hitting the 5th and 6th round for wide receivers. So to me, it's go out and get 2 running backs, go out and get your quarterback, even a tight end if you can. I think you can still compensate with the wide receiver position. It gets very thin after the first 3 or 4 rounds in terms of impactful running backs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to there's a lot of guys who have a lot of upside as well at the wide receiver position, who next year could definitely move up into those higher tiers, that I think going heavy in running back this year early is a necessity. I mean, I'm seeing Lamar Miller going like 2nd and 3rd rounds, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
But when you see the drop-off after a guy like Lamar Miller, it's a big issue because those elite running backs are coming off the board, and then you're looking at those 2nd-tier and 3rd-tier guys. People were getting worried not getting running backs. And most fantasy leagues, I believe running back is what can be the make or break. I mean, you can get an elite quarterback and get elite wide receiver. You're always going to have running backs be an integral part of the offense, which is why I believe the running back position is so important in fantasy football.
Yeah.
More so than wide receiver. But aside from an Antonio Brown and an OBJ and maybe a DeAndre Hopkins, there's weeks where you could get 25 points from a wide receiver, an elite wide receiver, and then the next week he's double teamed. and the target goes another way, and you're talking about getting 8 points or whatever it is, as opposed to when you talk about grabbing elite first-tier and second-tier running backs, you're looking at, barring one really shut-down game on them, they're guaranteeing to get you, at the very least, 15 to 20 points. A lot of the elite guys, you're looking at 25 to 30, 33 points on a consistent week-by-week basis. It's just more of a game-changing position consistency-wise in fantasy. So my suggestion would be definitely draft high on running back this year.
Yep.
There's a lot of gems that you're going to find that are out there when you start talking 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounds. There's not a huge gap between them, so you can wait on those.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that you said it pretty much really well. Running backs go early, and I think that with this year, the wide receivers, you can go early mid-rounds, and also realize if you are in a PPR league, you have to boost those pass-catching running backs up. You can't just ignore the guys who specialize in the passing game. Like a Theo Riddick is almost like he has very little value in the standard format, but in PPR, he could be your flex.
Sure.
He could be or the first running back off the bench. You have someone like McCaffrey, who he's the best candidate at running back to be able to get 80 catches this season, because he got 80 catches last season as a rookie, and if he's going to be leaned on heavily a lot more, he could repeat it. Now, I'm not saying that's likely, but what I'm saying is he is an integral part of both the running and passing game. In a PPR, you have to boost him up a little bit. Aim for him in like the mid to late second round. Someone like a Jerick McKinnon, even though he's hurt, 3rd or 4th round. You boost him up because he's going to be part of the passing game in San Francisco. Dion Lewis, same thing. Like Tariq Cohen with the Bears. These guys are going to get boosted, and I've seen too many times in some of these leagues that I'm in where these PPR running backs are falling way below. Like some of these guys are getting drafted after like an Isaiah Crowell, or even like there's someone drafted Adrian Peterson before some of these guys. No, Adrian Peterson's value in a PPR is not going to be more than someone like a Dion Lewis. I'm sorry, it's asinine to think so, to disagree with that.
That's one I've seen as the week has gone by, and every draft Peterson's going higher and higher.
Yeah,
and I don't get it. I don't understand it.
You know what it is? Is because they watch.
It frustrates me.
They watch this past game.
It doesn't frustrate me because people are wasting picks.
Yeah,
on
they're
him,
wasting picks. They watch this past game and they see how well he ran, and they're like, "Oh, it's the same old Adrian Peterson. Oh, great!" But people don't realize at 33 years old, he's not going to sustain that level of performance throughout a whole season. No. Of course, he looks great in week 3 of the preseason when he just got signed. Yeah. He has fresh legs, but he's not going to be able to do that week in and week out. That's what happens with older running backs. It's not so much that you can't flash it. It's the fact that over the whole season you can't maintain it.
Right.
So
I mean, I'm not a McCaffrey guy. I'm just not. I stayed away from them this year. Would I be surprised if he has a really good year? No. Would I be surprised if he has a mediocre year? Absolutely not. I don't know what it is about him in that offense. I just don't feel strongly that to me, he's a guy going elite who's a second-tier guy to me.
No, he's a second-tier
And
guy.
I think people are reaching on him because, to me, he's a third-round guy, and people are going first. Well, back end or first if they need a running back.
That's too early.
Or they're going second round.
Yeah, see, that's too early.
I wouldn't waste a second-round pick on him.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. That's too early. He went for –
I like a Jordan Howard more than him. And it's not because I have him in my early league. I kept him for a reason. I think Jordan Howard comes back this year and has a really strong full season. Last year it was a struggle for him the first half. He looked a lot better second half. I like him this year. I kind of like Marshawn Lynch this year.
I don't know.
I'm not saying the old Marshawn per se, but I felt like it took him a while to get his legs under him last year, and I liked what I've seen from him. I feel like Marshawn Lynch is going to be a very underrated guy this year, fantasy-wise, that I think will produce consistently on a week-to-week basis.
Sixers JT asks, is it worth drafting Melvin Gordon in the first round? Now, it depends how many people are in your league.
Yeah.
But in a 14-team league, yeah, sure. 10-team, I'd say he's more of like an early second round.
I took him in the late second round. That's how I got Gordon.
So, yeah, like
So I've started
Gordon's
to
high
see him.
usage.
He's another guy, though. I've seen him going a little bit higher. I've seen him go ahead of guys
Yeah.
like Devontae Freeman. Which,
High usage.
yeah, and it's a fair point.
High usage.
He wouldn't be my first round choice. I'd try to get him early at any
Yeah.
point in the second round.
Second round, yeah.
But I can't fault people if you go for him. He's a guy for me. If you're going to go for him first round, you got to be sold at what you're going to get from him. So that's kind of what you're looking at with that. But I mean, I like him. I think he's going to be a very good back this year. Just trying to look at some of the names. Kenyon Drake's been a guy that's been going pretty well.
Yeah.
Kenyon Drake, I like his skill set,
So
but
do
here's
I.
the thing, like
Miami though.
it's Miami's offensive line. Like
Yeah,
that's the whole issue.
That's my knock with him.
Yeah,
I like Deion Lewis. I like that you bought him up because I think Deion Lewis is going to have a great year in Tennessee this
I
year.
do too.
And I think he's a guy that's dropped a little bit in leagues.
Because of Derrick Henry, the hype about
Right.
Derrick Henry. Yeah.
And I like Derrick Henry. I see no reason why both of these guys can't produce on a week-in, week-out basis.
Devontae Freeman and
Yep.
Tevin Coleman,
Coleman, yep.
do it. They
Sure.
they still have good fantasy value, each of them. So
I like Royce Freeman this year.
Royce Freeman, another one.
I like Royce Freeman. I always feel like Denver always has a good system of running backs.
Yeah. Here's the thing about Royce Freeman though, and it's not to do with him. The coach won't come out and give him the starting job.
Right.
And that's cause for concern, and it's frustrating as hell because it's easy to see that he's the better runner than Devontae Booker, but he's naming the coach. I forget his name. I'm sorry. But the coach is naming Devontae Booker the starter still. So if you drafted Royce Freeman or you plan on drafting Royce Freeman, you gotta just bank on the hope that at some point they come to their senses and want to play the better running back because Devontae Booker isn't cutting it, but for some reason, because he's the veteran, he's not the rookie, he's getting the starting job.
Couple of wide receivers I'm looking at mid-rounds, and I'm talking early or mid-rounds. I'm talking like 5th round or below. Chris Hogan, to me, is a guy that's gone pretty high. I feel like people are overshooting on him a little bit.
Good thing you mentioned him.
But I like him in the 5th or 6th round. I've seen him go as high as the 4th round on quite a bit. I don't know if I'd go that high on him. I like him. I like Robert Woods this year, who's a guy that can be had in those 5th, 6th, 7th rounds.
He's been dropping. People forget about Robert Woods. Like, what the heck? Robert Woods was the number 1 wide receiver for the Rams last year, guys. He should be going higher.
Yep.
He's the possession wide receiver. He's going to get the catches.
And it's because Brandon Cooks is there now that people, I think, are shying off of him a little bit.
Also took him.
Who'd you take, Woods or
Cooks.
Cooks?
I took Cooks.
See, to me, I'm of the opposite thinking. I think Robert Woods keeps his role. I don't think his role changes. I think it's up to Cooks to show that he can expand his role beyond what Sammy Watkins' role was last year. And until I see it, my faith is in Robert Woods.
See, and I'm with you on that. I like Robert Woods, and I like Cooper Kupp as well. I like Cooper Kupp, who I think is a really good value pick who's been going around 7th, 8th rounds in drafts. They got a really good wide receiving core out there in L.A., for sure. I like the other 2 guys better. I feel like people are overshooting for a guy like Brandon Cooks, to me, where you can find more value at where he's been going, which has been around like the 4th round-ish.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I'm with you. I think the other 2 are going to produce similar fantasy value to where I'd rather sit and wait on those 2 guys and then overshoot and get Brandon Cooks. Where did you get him at, Frank, when you drafted him?
Brandon Cooks, I believe I took him. Let me figure that
I took
out.
him in the 2nd round.
No, I did not take him in the Melvin Gordon was my 2nd round.
Okay.
pick.
For the
And
ATD draft?
For the ATD draft, I was 2nd overall in the West Division.
Okay.
Strain from all you Sharks over in the East.
But I think who else was I? Another wide receiver who was falling, and I think I might be
5th round,
the-
Brandon Cooks.
Okay, that's good.
that's
I'm
fine.
okay with that.
That's fine.
I don't like him above the 5th round.
Yeah.
I feel like you're overshooting when you're going 4th round.
Because my 4th round pick was Josh Gordon.
Because I'm looking at
Ooh.
guys who are like 4th round picks. Like I'm just looking at some guys in my one league that. Like I like Doug Baldwin more than him.
Doug Baldwin did come out today. Keep in mind that he did say that he's gonna have a knee issue the whole year.
Okay.
He's gonna be struggling with, which sucks because I did draft him in one of the leagues that I was in earlier. But I mean, it is what it is. Hopefully, it's not that serious. Hopefully, he'll be able to still play at a high level with it. But a person that I seem to be higher on him than most. But Marquise Goodwin is
I was just
the number one.
pulling his name is sitting
Thank you.
here because I was going to
Marquise
pull him
Goodwin
up
is
too.
the number one wide receiver in San Francisco,
With
not Pierre
Jimmy
Garcon.
GQ.
Marquise
Took
Goodwin.
him as well in the draft.
Okay.
Good.
Well, that's good on you.
Because Marquise Goodwin, I'm telling you, Jimmy G in the preseason, he looks like he's worked on his deep ball. And again, Marquise Goodwin, elite track star speed, 4.2, I forget, 4.29, something like that. Guys, Marquise Goodwin's gonna have a year.
He is going to
I'm
have
telling you, and he keeps dropping. People aren't paying attention. Marquise Goodwin, if he is there, you get him.
Yep, I
I'm
agree.
trying to remember
Get
where I
him.
took him at.
Yeah.
9th round.
I take him over. Cook.
9th round. Marquise Goodwin was there in the 9th round.
He was there in the 9th
Oh
round.
my God!
Who the fuck are you drafting with?
I don't even
What
know.
people in A2D West are letting Marquise Goodwin drop?
I
to the
have no
9th round?
In my
idea.
leagues, he's gone like 5th or 6th round.
That's where he should
I
be
don't even
going.
know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Telling you guys, Marquise
crazy.
Goodwin, he's one of the people I'm putting my stamp of approval on this year. He's gonna have a great year.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. That is really crazy.
And another thing, keep in mind, guys, when you're doing your drafts, especially if you're in a keeper league, particularly if you're in a keeper league, keep an eye on these guys who are going to be on IR for the whole year. Because if you have an IR spot, guy like a Geis sitting out there,
Ooh yeah.
and he's
I
dropping, a
killed
lot of people are
myself.
taking him late.
I got so mad I forgot about that in Tom's league. I'm so mad I forgot to draft him.
I
late
went
as
to
a
take him.
freaking
I went to
keeper.
take him last night, and somebody jumped ahead of me and got him. But Geis is a great keeper pick for next year. And if you're looking at value, and you have, especially if you have a deep bench, Des Bryant, man, I like him. I like Des
If
Bryant.
you want to take a flyer, yeah.
At any point, if you fill out your starting roster and you have, one or two guys already kind of filled in for the depth there, take a flyer on him. Like you talk 10th round or later, no problem with that. I think Des is definitely going to sign somewhere, and I think that he will have an opportunity to be successful. So
Mm-hmm.
that's you got to look at those kind of guys.
Yeah.
I
Another
like
one-
Nick Chubb this year too. I know everybody's saying, "Well, he's going to be the third back." I think Nick Chubb's going to earn his reps this year. I
Yeah.
like Chubb a lot with Cleveland.
I like him coming out of the draft, but I haven't seen anything in the preseason that's impressive. But I mean, you kind of hope he. It's just a matter. It's just him being a rookie.
Yeah.
And learning the ropes, because I did like him. He had I gave him a day 2 grade going
Yeah.
into that draft, so I like his talent.
I wanted to answer this question, which is a baseball question, because they asked me on here, and I don't get to talk it much, so I'm going to throw it out before we
Yeah,
do
go
No
ahead.
Huddle. I'm just trying to pull up my YouTube app because I accidentally closed it.
Oops.
I was asked earlier by F. Deems, Chrome, do you like Schilt, Mike Schilt, who is filled in for Mike Matheny since he was fired? And
He
somebody
didn't like
said
the salsa.
and somebody said in here, I'm trying to find who said it. Sixers JT said, I'm feeling deja vu from 2011 watching the Cardinals. F. Deem said 2011 was amazing. And there's a couple of comments on that. So what I'll say is I like the deal to bring – so they've obviously played better. I've been on the bandwagon. If you follow A2D on the shows, in the Real Talk group, and anywhere else, any chance I had to bash Mike Matheny, I took it because he was an
Yeah, you
absolutely
did.
terrible manager who never, ever
Hashtag fire.
Hashtag
Matheny.
fire Matheny has turned into hashtag fired Matheny, which I continue to use it for the rest of the year because since I've been putting that hashtag out, they've been playing well, and I'm one of those guys. I'm going to stick with what's working. But I believe that, it's clear that they needed somebody in there with a voice. Mike Matheny is not a manager. He had no prior experience. He was too busy trying to be buddy. He had clearly had his favorites, which is why guys like Shelby Miller, why guys like Joe Kelly had been moved out of the city. Alan Craig, because those guys were his little buddies from when he was doing some scouting in the minor leagues, and he played clear favorites. Those guys hazed guys like the late Oscar Taveras, and created issues in the locker room that started to becoming up to the forefront. So what I'll say is, Dexter Fowler's a guy I respect a lot. I know he's had a tough year. I felt like when they bought him in last year, they sold him on being a locker room guy and being a table setter, and then forced him into having to be the guy. And it was a lot, and I think he did well for the most part. But when Dexter Fowler, a player who is so well respected in the league in every locker room he's ever been in, respected by the media, nothing but great things from fans who have interacted with him, has major issues with him, with Mike Matheny, who has a track record of having issues with how he deals with players. I hold a lot of water to that. And I don't think it's a coincidence that now that Mike Matheny is gone, because he's a guy who didn't know how to be a manager, he still thought he was he's in the mind frame that he's one of the guys. And you're not. You're the fucking manager of the team. You're not one of the boys. You want to go out and do, team building and go hunting with everybody, that's cool. But he was one of the guys out there texting his buddies, the young kids on the team. He was more of still a guy, one of the guys, instead of being the manager. And it was very clear. He's gone. You bring in a Mike Schilt, who's a guy that has a coaching pedigree, who has been a guy who's had the experience of managing a team and managing personalities. He comes in. He has maximized a lot of these young guys. I think that this team is playing for him, and he's well respected. He has experience with this minor league organization, to where these guys are familiar with him. I think it was a very strong move. When they first announced 3 years, I didn't like it, because I felt like 3 years for an interim guy is a lot for me, because the Cardinals have a history of signing a Colton Wong and taking a small sample and signing guys. Similar to Kingery. Frank, you can relate to this.
Yep.
Similar to the Kingery thing where there was no sample size.
Right.
Cardinals kind of did the same thing with DeYoung, and they did it with Colton Wong and a couple of other guys, where they took a very small sample size and they committed years to these people.
Exactly.
So when I looked at it, I'm saying they haven't made the playoffs yet. I think that they will.
Right.
But they haven't made the playoffs yet. And even if they do, I do think he should get the strong consideration as a league candidate, but I think that he should be – I believe that these guys should have something to earn. You still should have to go in and interview and sell yourself and listen to other ideas.
Yep.
That being said, though, with the 3 years, they do count the first year as what he's doing right now. So it's only a 2-year deal. So it's a short commitment to him to give him – it's a show-me contract of beyond this year, give him a chance to earn that position long time as their manager. And I think that there's an opportunity there where he can, this team can continue to grow. We have a couple things on here. F-Deem says, how many times can we burn out the bullpen? Ask Mike Matheny. I talk about that shit all the time. Mike Matheny Mike Matheny ruined Trevor Rosenthal's career, Seth Maness, Kevin Segras, who Phillies fans are familiar with because we traded him here. He also put guys like Michael Wacha, who was a young stud guy, was out for the year. They decide to bring him back after being out all year in the NLCS against the Giants in an extra inning game. Was the first time he pitched all year, and he gave up a home run, which ended the series. You put a guy who hasn't pitched all year, a young kid.
Right.
And that's the position you put him in. I think it's a disgrace. I think a lot of that was the decision-making, and Mike Matheny should have known that the kid had no business being on that playoff roster and having that opportunity. I've never seen a guy who, as a player, I respected so much for his ability to manage a pitching staff, and then as a manager was the absolute worst. He rivals Dusty Baker, and I've always said Dusty Baker is the worst bullpen manager in the history of baseball. He's a close second, Matheny. He might be as bad as Dusty. Watching it day in and day out. You guys are frustrated with what Kapler does sometimes.
Yeah.
Watch that shit every night for 6 years or 5 years or however the hell long. He was there since 2012. Imagine watching that day in and day out. It's the worst. So Tyler Lyons is another guy. I think that was an issue. And F-Team says fire Mozeliak while we're at it. I'm not a Mo guy. I'd love to see them fire him, but
He's the GM, right?
yeah. Well, he's the president of baseball operations
Gotcha.
now, but he was the GM previously. Yeah, I mean, I know you guys are probably bored. It's Cardinals talking, but I'm getting some interactive here. But no, I think it's a great move for them, and I think it makes sense. I think he's done enough to earn 2 years. If it was a 3-year deal, I'd have an issue with committing that long to him. But I think that he's maximized the kids, and you got to take that into consideration. Are the Phillies winning? ASMR
check.
me of everything says who thinks we're going to blow this game. I'm assuming the Phillies are winning.
Probably.
so.
Last time I checked, the Phillies were up 3-2, I believe.
Yeah.
So I
So
think it was like the bottom of the 7th. So probably by the time the game ends, we'll probably be wrapping up.
Right.
And it's the top of the 9th. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! We're gonna possibly win it or blow it.
why don't we dive into No Huddle? I'll get a little
All
Phillies
right.
talk on here. My buddy texted me a picture earlier. Now tonight you have Max Scherzer versus Aaron Nola. The Phillies are still very heavily into the playoff hunt. He sends me a text message. The stadium is half full. For Aaron Nola versus
Yeah.
Max Scherzer in a playoff race, the stadium is half full.
How do you, I don't even know with this fan base this season. It's been excruciating.
I find that sad, and
I'm legitimately embarrassed.
it's
that-
embarrassing. It's
that
like it's
especially
like
the
Tampa.
biggest pitching, especially with 2 Cy Young candidates in a playoff push, and you show up half empty. It's ridiculous. I got no words for a half empty stadium.
My buddy said he remembers in 1990 going back to Kurt Schilling versus Greg Maddux, and this is
Yeah.
before these were the Hall of Fame guys.
Yeah.
They were just they were young, on the rise pitchers. And he said to this day, it's one of the greatest games he ever went to. He still remembers his father taking him to that game, and he put it as that's the kind of games where memories are made.
Exactly.
You get to go and watch amazing pitching matchups. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. And if I take heat, I don't care. Aside from the Eagles, and I can't say definitively with the Flyers because they've never really been that bad. This is the biggest fair weather fan base. Not
Oh, yeah.
biggest, but it's a big
Oh
one.
yeah.
Nobody, unless it's an actual World Series contending team for sure, they don't show up to the baseball stadium.
Right.
The Sixers, I was there during the Eddie Jordan era. There was nobody in the stadium. You can
Yeah.
hear my buddy yelling from the 200 level and the front row of the 200 level down to Eddie Jordan, and it echoed through the arena because nobody showed up for games. People, they don't show up. And I get you want to see winning sports,
Mm-hmm.
but there's other things too. If you enjoy the sport, you'll show up.
Yep.
If you enjoy the sport, maybe not your team, but other guys in other teams, when they come to town, there's an interest of, hey, I want to go out and I want to see, when he was in his prime, Miguel Cabrera play
Yeah.
and guys like that. You don't see that here.
You know.
You don't see that here, and it's sad, and I find it disappointing, unless it's a LeBron James coming to town or something of that ilk. And I feel bad for the Phillies because I feel like this is a really good team, and I feel like it's a team on the rise. And I guarantee 2 years from now, when they are in a position to definitely be competing for a World Series, people are going to decide they're going to start showing up to games.
Exactly.
And to me, don't go to the games.
Yeah.
If you're not going to be willing to be there and go through the heartache with them,
Right.
maybe you shouldn't go to the games. That's just my opinion. It's frustrating.
And for the people on the Fire Kapler bandwagon, freaking relax.
Yes.
It's his first season. He's trying to get the ropes. Yes, he has been micromanaging. Yes, he hasn't been making the right decisions. It's his first year in Phillies
Well,
pinstripes. We have to deal with the first year jitters.
And welcome to
It's-
the new baseball where
Yeah.
analytics runs everything. So,
I don't mind the analytics, but it's like there's a right way and a wrong way to do that. And I think it's hit and miss with Kapler so far.
Yeah.
He's just got to figure out which one's right.
I can't say it about the Flyers. They've never really been that bad, at least in my lifetime. And I feel like the Flyers have enough of
They have a niche.
hardcore fan base.
Yeah, they have
Yeah.
a niche
The
fan base.
same
yeah.
fans would show up every week, so there's always a crowd for them.
Yeah.
But you don't have it with the Sixers. You don't have it with the Phillies. And as much as Philly fans get upset when people say they're fair weather, they are.
Yeah.
Listen,
Exactly.
much respect for the Eagles, because the Eagles, I feel like if they won one game, people would still show up
Oh,
and
yeah.
sell that place
It's a
out.
football town, yeah.
It is a football town.
yeah.
But can we
Anyone
get
that
a
argues that,
little
yeah.
bit more love for the Phillies when you have Aaron Nola versus Max Scherzer in a playoff race at the end of August, heading into the dog days of
Yep.
September? A little bit of love, guys. That's all. Like, come on. Show some love for your team.
I hear you.
Yeah, Charles, what do you got?
I only got 2 topics for No
Let's see.
Huddle today. First one, Travis Frederick, I don't know if you heard, was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease last week. It just came out.
Yes.
It's called Guillain-Barre syndrome. And he released a statement on his Twitter, and apparently it's his timetable for return is questionable. They don't know when he'll be able to return, and you know, he is a Cowboy. We get it. You know,
Yeah.
you as an Eagles fan, it's like one less good player you have to worry about. But as a fan of football, and just as a human being, it is sad.
Right.
Because Travis Frederick is one of the best, if not the best, center in the league. And to see someone with talent have come down with that sickness and have to put a pause on his career, and it's unknown how long. You have to just offer your prayers up, because that is very unfortunate, and it's sad. You don't, if you're a football fan, just a straight football fan of the sport, you want great players to be on the field.
Sure.
And so, I think like our thoughts and prayers go out to him. Hopefully he gets back on the field, because someone like him, he deserves to be out on that field, and he deserves to be healthy. So
Yep.
shout out to him and his family, and hopefully he'll be back soon.
Nice. I like it. I agree with you.
Yep.
You got anything, Frank?
I'm going to go with Hawaii winning the 2018 Little League World Series.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
did
Beating
they?
South Korea. Yep.
Hawaii, I think that's where we're going for a honeymoon next year.
Ooh.
I
Shut-
think, but I'm not sure. But go
Yeah.
ahead, Love
Yeah,
Hawaii.
Hawaii shuts out South Korea 3-0. Especially leading up to the game, there was some threats of a tropical storm going into the state. Played their hearts out.
Ooh.
Won it for the state. Great win for them. A great team overall. I wish I could have seen the whole game. I haven't had a chance to see it all, but just hearing about this Hawaii team, some very, very entertaining team to watch.
That's awesome.
I love the Little League World Series, man. I think it's so cool.
My dad was watching it the other day. Yeah, he likes it too.
And I think we talked about before, like, I think that baseball, Major League Baseball getting more involved over the last couple of years was really a great thing, and I think that for all parties involved are getting it right. I was fortunate enough. I got to go to the Little League World Series in '95, and if you've never been, it's a really cool experience. Williamsport's a beautiful area. The stadium is really cool, and I'm sure it's been upgraded since I've been there. It's been 23 years since I've been there. But it's just a great thing to take your family to, and and support the kids.
Yeah.
Like, the kids really get into it, and they work hard to get there. And I think it's a lot of fun. So
it is.
Good for the kids.
And especially like in the years where, especially our local teams, were making a great run.
Yeah.
Like the Taney Dragons, the Toms River team of '98.
Yeah.
That I've never seen everybody so ecstatic for a World Series, a Little League team when it comes to the local talent. It's very fascinating to watch.
Oh, yeah. No, I totally agree with you. Mine is going to be sad, but I'm going to do it anyway. Obviously, we all know what happened this week in Jacksonville
Yes.
at a
Oh,
Madden
yeah.
at a Madden tournament. a sanctioned Madden tournament. Unfortunately, there was another mass shooting incident there. I'm not getting into gun laws or any of that kind of crap, but first off, thoughts and prayers with the victims, those who are deceased and those who are recovering from their injuries. It's very, very sad. I know one was a young kid who was a high school football star, and
Wow.
and another was a guy who actually, I believe, won the national tournament 2 years ago, who has a fairly young child and a wife. It's very sad, guys. It's a video game, and there's suspicion that he wasn't all there.
Right.
But
yeah,
he's also
he was checked in.
very disappointed. He was
Yeah.
upset that he lost in the tournament for all intents and purposes.
Mhm.
Right.
If that's the case, and regardless, guys, it comes full circle to a lot of things, because we see a lot of incidents where people, fighting, and we've seen the issue. I believe it was in San Francisco, like 4 or 5 years ago,
with the fans.
with the fans, where the guy ended up having brain damage from a fight over a stupid sport.
Right.
Whether it's a video game, it's a sport, whatever it is, guys. It's fun to have fun and to to poke at each other and take shots. But dude, in the end, it's just a sport, man. There's more behind it than that for people. So can we just rally and figure it out and
Exactly.
and come together a little bit and not take things so seriously? It just upsets me very much with what
Yeah.
happened there.
It's
And
very upsetting.
and I know it's an issue. There's other underlying issues with that we're not getting into because we don't do political issues. But we're talking a Madden tournament, and I know people who freak out and get crazy over a video game. And that's, to me, all it is. It's a guy going nuts and taking someone's life over a stupid video game.
Yeah.
Same thing with sports. We've seen it happen in sports incidents
Yeah.
where people have been killed or had life-altering injuries from fights
Right.
at a sporting event. Let's just chill out a
There's
little
no
bit with
need.
it.
There's no need.
At all.
SJM says, a buddy who I was deployed with was one of the first on the scene in Jacksonville. Well, thank you to your friend, I'm sure, for what, anyone who was a first responder there, especially knowing that you didn't know what you were walking in. He said, saw that a guy got shot after arguing who should play Aretha in a film.
Who's Aretha?
Jesus.
Aretha Franklin.
Oh, jeez, come on. Some people, I
Yeah.
swear to God.
Anyway.
It's ridiculous.
Anyway, yeah.
That's awful. And we try to keep it light here, but I just
Yeah.
couldn't go through without addressing
Without mentioning,
that.
yeah.
So anyway, thoughts and prayers with the
Yes,
victims and
definitely.
all.
And hope something.
Let's hope something good comes of this. I know this is like a trend. We say this all the time, but let's hope something.
Something just needs to happen.
Yeah.
Enough is enough.
Yep.
I mean, I have family who got involved in the Vegas shooting.
I had a friend that was there
Yeah.
who had to run, lost her
Exactly.
purse,
Yeah,
lost her
that's-
phone,
that's
everything.
crazy.
Yeah. Enough is enough.
Yeah.
Call your politicians. Get something done.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, we're not going to get into
Yeah,
that.
I'm not going to say what. This
Yep.
is not my political soapbox. I stay out of politics. So talk with your legislators
Yeah.
and get out and vote,
Yeah.
please.
That's a big thing. Get out and vote. You want
Get
to
out
make a
and
change,
vote.
get out and vote.
Yep.
Charles, what do you got?
And then my last thing is, last week I was having another conversation with my friends, and this is something I've been debating, but never pretty much acted on. Probably never will. But I had
curious
followed
where this is
through.
going.
No, you know about it. I had followed through and I had posted it on the Birds of a Feather page, on the A2D page. I asked the question I was just curious to see how people react, but I asked, would it be a violation if
Oh, jeez.
if I had bought a Kareem Hunt jersey or shirt,
No.
and even though
No.
I'm an Eagles fan, and if I had just bought one to wear every once in a while because he is my favorite player.
You just don't wear it on game day.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
wear it on game day. But the reactions I got, holy crap, there are some uptight people in
It's
Philadelphia.
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's like you can't. There are some really asinine people who get so butthurt about you wearing a player or something of a player or being a fan of a player outside of Philadelphia. Get a grip, guys.
Yeah.
If you know me, I think one of the guys who I talk with a lot on the pages, Vinny, he said it great. He's like, he knows me. He knows that I would never root for Kareem Hunt and the Chiefs to beat the Eagles. I would never wear it on game day. I'm a fan of the player, so why can't I get something of the player? And I think it's just hilarious. So if you're out there, honestly, you can believe what you want to believe, but if you really think it's that big of a violation for an Eagles fan, not just even me, but for an Eagles fan to be a fan of someone outside of the team, just relax. It's not
Listen,
that big a deal.
This is a city of hypocrisy because I've seen people say that you can't do that. They're Phillies fans, but then go out and wear a Mike Trout jersey.
Yeah.
Well, he's a local guy,
Yeah.
but he don't play for your team, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Why
so-
is that okay?
Like-
Because you like the guy?
Yeah, I have like, and I hate to admit it, I have jerseys in my closet from different teams. I just like collecting different jerseys.
I don't hate to admit it.
Yeah.
I love baseball.
Yeah.
Okay?
No shame. I have
Now,
no shame about
would
it.
I
yeah.
wear I'm a Cardinals fan. Would I wear a Cubs shirt? Hell no. I have a Pirates shirt, but it's a Roberto Clemente shirt
Right.
because he's one of the legends of the game. Would I never wear it during the season, and I wouldn't wear it during a game day,
Yeah.
especially.
Yeah.
My thing is, first of all, it's your money. Spend your money on
Yeah,
whatever the fuck you
exactly.
want to wear. You're not buying a Dallas jersey. You're
Oh
not.
hell no! Yeah.
Unless if it's like an Assmaster 69 customized jersey,
Right.
then there's a problem.
Right.
There's- yeah.
It's not a Dallas jersey.
It's not a rival. I
Cowboys
would never
jersey.
get
Right.
a rival jersey. Yeah.
No, I get that. But you want to get a shirt or a jersey of a guy that you like, or you just like the jersey, the
Yeah.
uniform, go ahead. Just don't wear
Yeah.
it during. You could even honestly,
Right.
if the Eagles are on 1 o'clock and the Chiefs are on at 4
You want
o'clock,
to switch?
you could switch your
Yep.
jersey. But if there's if there is a conflict of interest of when the game is on, you
Exactly.
absolutely do not wear
yeah,
that
you don't
jersey.
wear the thing. Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a big baseball fan. I have baseball jerseys. I have baseball T-shirts of different guys on different teams. I have for like half the teams in
Yeah.
the league. I like them. I buy the hats
Yeah.
because I like the hats.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing.
Nothing wrong with
It's
it.
not. It's not like when I'm going to the game, I'm gonna wear
Exactly. Yeah.
something different. Like I'm going to a Phillies game. I wear Phillies shirts. I
Yeah.
like the Phillies. That's my hometown team.
Yeah.
They're not my favorite team, but guess what? When the Cardinals are in town, I put a Cardinals jersey on.
Mhm.
I don't front like that. For me, you are totally fine with wearing whatever you want to wear.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong
Yeah.
with that.
I went to as I told you before. When I was a kid, the first team I liked when I first watched my first Super Bowl was the Niners. I liked Jerry Rice, and then I also watched Barry Sanders. He like every Thanksgiving because the Lions play every Thanksgiving. I watched Barry Sanders. I was being awe. So those are two players that kind of introduced me to football, and so I liked the Niners a lot. They were my first technical, team I was a fan of before I actually became a fan of football. So when I went out to San Francisco to visit my cousin, I bought a San Francisco hat. It just says San Francisco.
Yeah.
It's it was like a tourist thing. It's a souvenir.
Yeah.
And I still wear it every once in a while
could
because
wear
I
it.
like
There's
San
nothing wrong with
Francisco.
that.
There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong.
Yeah,
I think
I have a
people need to
I
calm
have
down.
like several baseball hats, like even like some of the weirdest hats. Like I have a Cincinnati Reds from like the 70s hat. I have old school LA Angels hat, an old school Seattle Pilots hat. I have a bunch of weird hats, and like I just like craving like that weird uniform stuff.
Well, like I'm a T-shirt guy,
Yeah.
so I don't buy a lot of hats. I mean, the Orioles are my American League team, so I have Orioles stuff.
Right.
I might just be Phillies and Cardinals. I don't think I have a lot of hats, but I got T-shirts
Yeah.
of, I have the Pirates shirt with Clemente on it. I have Phillies shirts. I have Cardinal shirts. I have Red Sox. I have Yankees because I don't hate the Yankees. I hate the Red Sox, but I like David Ortiz. I have a David Ortiz T-shirt.
Right.
I have a Mariners T-shirt. I think I have a Griffey one. There's nothing wrong with wearing those. I have a Mike Trout shirt because I love Mike Trout.
Everyone loves Mike Trout.
Like, fuck, I got a Mike Trout shirt.
I don't follow baseball. I like Mike Trout.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. So, yeah, wear whatever you want. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I know we're going to hop off. I'm going to read. There was a few comments here that I
Yeah.
want to
And I got one more thing in No Huddle. I can't.
Oh, do your no huddle.
Yeah,
Go
go
I
ahead.
do
ahead.
my No Huddle. So over in the great land of nice French cheeses and
Frank threw me off, by the way, because last time he just came with the one.
With
so
the
I'm
one,
like, oh,
yeah,
he's
so-
going to do the one.
yeah.
Go ahead. I'm glad.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
you got to. You're prepared this week.
Yeah, I actually
Nice.
came prepared this week. So over in the land of the Eiffel Tower and Emmanuel Macron in France, this has been exploding all over the internet. A young fan for Olympique Marseille of French League One. He was supposed to just do the ceremonial kickoff, but he took it a little bit far, runs down the field, scores a goal, goes crazy. Like he takes off his shirt, he's like running around, he goes to the camera, does a celebratory dance after that. It was very nice to see. But like how he got to do the ceremonial kickoff. Apparently 10 years ago there was a bus accident.
Oh wow.
And it killed the boy's father and one other passenger, and injured
man.
15 other supporters of the team.
Oh, jeez.
And they invited him 10 years later to do the kickoff, just to do the kickoff only. But he was just so excited. He wanted to pay tribute to his father.
But that's awesome.
Hey,
Yeah.
what do the young kids say? YOLO, man. Do it.
YOLO.
That's cool, man. And they created another memorable moment.
Yeah.
So, that's a cool. I love
That's
Frank.
awesome.
Frank does come with the abstract stuff. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
ASMR, me of everything. He says this is going back to the thing in Jacksonville.
Mhm.
Jesus Christ, what's happening in the world? Sending prayers to the victims and their families. TTB Bone also says thoughts and a lot of prayers. F Deems talking about your jersey says nah. If you like the kid, why not? SJM says I still have a Peterson jersey from his rookie year in 2007 when I drafted him. Nothing wrong with that. F Deems says Zeke is my favorite player, but he's a Cowboy. Oh, F Deems. We got to talk about that, buddy. That's a conversation for another time.
Let's just
He
say
says-
that
he said
I'll leave that alone.
He does say I'd never buy his jersey. Maybe he'd wear an Ohio State jersey.
I don't
okay,
I don't
okay.
like Ohio State.
Okay.
I'm not an Ohio State guy, but if you don't have a preference on them, then
Yeah.
I mean maybe I can
I mean,
overlook that.
I
but
haven't like growing up. I had a Darren Sproles in San Diego jersey.
I had a Reggie Bush.
Sproles,
I had a
man.
Reggie Bush Saints jersey,
Guilty.
and he says I love Saquon too. I'm a Penn State alumni, diehard Eagles fan, and haven't bought his jersey yet, Charles, for the same reason.
But the worst thing I'm
Don't buy
guilty
his
with
jersey.
is I have an Eli Manning jersey but I got it during his rookie year, and I was like 10, 11, and
Oh, you were a kid.
I was a kid and growing up, and that was when I started watching college football, and Eli Manning and Darren Sproles were very interesting players to watch, especially when Eli was at Ole Miss and of course Darren Sproles at Kansas State, my dad's alma mater.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
watching those two players, it was very interesting to watch, and I started getting hooked on college football. So I'm like, all right, maybe I'll get one other jersey, and I think I got Reggie Bush's Saints jersey as well because I
Wow.
really loved Reggie Bush.
A lot of
Well,
people do.
my-
A lot of jerseys.
My violation, and I will admit it on the air, I have a Donovan McNabb Redskins jersey.
Ooh.
I bought it before he ever played a game. I wore it one time where my sister lives in the D.C. area.
Okay.
I didn't even wear it out in public. She had a party, and I put it on there.
Right.
I've only worn it once. It was like I got it like $25 out of the guy's trunk.
Oh,
Yeah.
But I do have a Redskins jersey.
but it's McNabb.
But it's McNabb.
See, that's like a gray area.
Donovan
kind of thing.
McNabb was my favorite college player when
Right.
the Eagles drafted him, and he was my favorite Eagle up until essentially Carson Wentz. So, and Dawkins.
Yeah.
But
I
see,
mean,
that's
clearly.
understandable. I think I would let you slide on that because
Well, I looked at the
circumstances
Redskins.
behind
Like,
it.
it's just the Redskins. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's just the
I would never get
Redskins.
I would never get a Redskins jersey now, and I would never
Yeah,
unless it was that
yeah,
circumstance.
No current players
And I
for
would
me.
I would never get a Giants or
Yeah.
a Cowboys jersey.
now
It's
if it
sitting
was,
in my closet collecting dust, but I do own it.
now
I
if
can't
it
bring
was
myself
someone
to
I
throw
went
it
to
out.
school with over at Western Kentucky and they managed to make it to the league, maybe, but no.
Well, I have friends that live in the D.C. area, so I like to think at some point, if someone needs a jersey, I can just donate it
Yeah.
to them.
True, yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah, I have a stash.
But
can't-
it is also
I,
McNabb.
I can't bring myself to throw out a Donovan McNabb jersey.
Yeah,
though.
Right.
no,
I just
I hear
can't do
you.
Yeah.
it. TTP says, I have tons of jerseys from teams outside of Philadelphia. I respect talent. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
ASM,
Amen.
ASMR says, nothing wrong with that. I've cheered for the Seahawks during their Super Bowl run.
Yeah, Kelsey is charged too.
He says 5-3 Nationals. Oh, goodbye Phillies. I guess Phillies blew the lead.
They blew the lead in ninth.
They did.
Dear
F
Lord.
Team says my firstborn team was the Raiders. Mine was the Dolphins. I have a Dan Marino jersey. I wear it all the time.
Was the
They're
Eagles for
talking
me?
about the Eagles blowing it. I'm just trying to see. F Team says I don't even like Mike Trout, and I like Mike Trout. It took me a second, but I totally get it. That's great. I love that, F Teams. I was like the guy who's like, wait a minute, what?
Wait, what?
That was good. I like that. Let's see. Right. TTP, I have a feeling Bryce Harper will be a Philly next season. ASMR, Philly, fingers crossed. F Teams. I like the player. I wanted him before I knew Wentz would be pick at number 2. I had a Bush Saints jersey. I think we all did.
Yeah.
And
The
he
greatest, probably one
Not
of the
me.
greatest running backs out of college.
says, and he says, I'm not a jersey guy.
that happened.
I have a Mickey Mantle Yankees jersey.
Yeah.
I love Mickey Mantle. I talked about this on our baseball preview show. I asked the
some of
question, if there's one player in the history of baseball that, dead or alive, that you can go and watch one time play, who would it be? It's not Babe Ruth for me. It's Mickey Mantle. I would
Ooh.
love to see Mickey Mantle in his
Wow.
prime play.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a tough question, right? It's a
Very,
good question.
very good question.
Yeah, Mickey Mantle's always the one guy, dead or alive, that I would love to have had a chance to go sit and watch play a game.
Ah, okay. Good one.
So good stuff. Frank's
Yeah,
like
good
thinking
stuff.
over there.
Yeah, that's a really. I got to think about that one.
Yeah. I'll ask it again next time. You're with us next week, right?
There's a 50% chance.
So
Okay.
you are Ralphie.
th-
Okay.
It'll be me or Ralphie.
Okay.
So you could mess with Ralphie on that one.
I'll save it for next time you're on.
All
Guys,
right.
if you join us on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Instagram, thank you very much as always. We had great conversation, ran a little bit long because you guys kept that convo going, and you know we love a good conversation.
No Huddle's a hit.
And,
man.
Yeah.
and you guys asked me Cardinals questions. Let me talk Cardinals
It's
baseball.
a miracle.
Good Lord. It was great. But thank you to our sponsors, Gibson Mayer LLC, our certified public accountant. Make them yours. GibsonMayer.com, StreamSmart.com, ScanzanoSports.com. Live from the Real Talk Studios. Frank, thanks for doing a great job tonight.
No problem.
Charles, always a good time, my man. Next week, I guess we'll be getting prepped for season, man.
Yeah. Next week will be our predictions show. So we'll do a lot of predictions for the
Ooh.
season.
Yeah, Charles will come up with a nice little criteria for us to go over and have a conversation about. Fam, thanks again for joining us. And obviously, have a great, safe week. Enjoy the game on Thursday. We'll talk to you next week.